Master, take it easy on me. The one getting beaten was me, Lu Feng. This crazy old man kidnapped me and brought me to this mountain when I was only 3 years old. I'm 18 now. For 15 years, my daily routine consisted of two things: getting beaten and getting beaten again. If I tried to sneak down the mountain, a brutal beating. If the old man woke up and didn't see me practicing, another beating. If he was in a bad mood, you guessed it, beating. Sometimes he couldn't even find a reason, but he'd hit me anyway just to keep his skills sharp. Over the years, I'd taken more punches than I'd eaten bowls of rice. You can go down the mountain now, the old man said, standing beside me with his hands behind his back. I glared at him, panting from the workout he'd just given me. Old man, try being a human for once. You just finished hitting me. Are you just looking for an excuse to do it again? Every time I tried to leave in the past, it ended in a disaster. I was traumatized. Just hearing the words, "go down the mountain," made my skin crawl. I'm not hitting you this time, he said calmly. Once you leave, don't come back. Did you catch a fever? Has your brain finally rotted? I wasn't falling for it. He'd used this trick dozens of times to lure me into a false sense of security before unleashing hell. I'd learned my lesson. Whatever the old man said, I had to do the opposite. If I agreed with him, he'd regret it later and double the punishment. You've always wanted to leave, haven't you? He snapped. Get lost. I'm sick of looking at your face. I'm not going, I shouted back. You can kill me, but I'm staying right here. He sighed and looked at me sideways. What if I told you I found you a beautiful wife in Zhonghai City? Would you go then? My eyes lit up for a second, then immediately went dull. This was definitely a trap. There was no way this old geezer was being kind enough to find me a wife. He probably thought I was an idiot. I don't believe a word you say, I spat. You're a wicked old man. You, finding me a wife. Please. You brat. Is that really what you think of me? He huffed, looking offended. I found you a girl with a great figure and a face like an angel. If you don't want her, fine. I'll give her to someone else. Master. Wait. Don't go. I scrambled up. How do I find this girl? I didn't care if it was a trap anymore. When there's a beautiful woman involved, you have to take the gamble. When I was begging for mercy, he was master. The rest of the time, he was just the old man. This is your marriage contract, he said, handing me a weathered piece of paper. Take this to the Haida group in Zhonghai City. Find their chairman. He'll handle the rest. I took the paper, a goofy grin spreading across my face. I was already imagining my future bride. Maybe the old man wasn't so bad after all. He was actually giving me a reward. Then I looked at the details on the contract. My smile vanished. Old man, you set this up 10 years ago? Behind my back? And she's 3 years older than me. I stared at the birth dates and the timing. 10 years ago. How did he know if she was still pretty? What if she grew up to be a total disaster? What if she weighed 300 pounds? What's wrong with 3 years older? He barked. There's an old saying. A wife 3 years older is like carrying a gold brick. Don't be so rigid. The age isn't the main issue, I argued. This contract is 10 years old. Will they even honor it? They wouldn't dare refuse, he sneered. Unless their old man wants to die early. You'll understand when you get there. Now, are you going or not? Fine. But I'm telling you now, if she's ugly, the deal is off. Just get out of here. I don't want to see you for another second. I started backing away, one cautious step at a time. I kept my eyes locked on him, waiting for the sudden strike, the inevitable gotcha punch to the gut. Go. Get lost. I'm done hitting you, he yelled. Once I was about 50 meters away and saw he wasn't chasing me, I turned and bolted. I ran down that mountain like my life depended on it. I'm free. I'm finally free. I screamed at the top of my lungs. No more beatings. Wife, wait for me. Your husband is coming. I felt like a bird finally released from a cage. The world felt huge and full of possibilities. I'd been on this mountain since I was 3. I didn't even know who my parents were. The old man always told me he just picked me up off the street and that my name was Lu Feng. For 15 years, I'd wondered if my parents were still out there, looking for me. I wasn't a total stranger to the world, though. Besides teaching me martial arts and medicine, the old man had been sending me out on missions since I was 13. At 18, I was already the most mysterious figure on the Earth rankings of assassins. My codename was Shura. I'd protected billionaires and assassinated politicians, hovering on the edge of life and death more times than I could count. The problem? The old man took all the money. Every single cent. If he was in a good mood, he'd toss me $10. I reached the bottom of the mountain and reached into my pockets. Empty. Damn it. I cursed. That stingy old bastard. I made him millions, and he didn't give me a penny for the road. How was I supposed to find a wife in a big city with no money? I'd look like a total loser. But I wasn't going back. Who knew if the old man would change his mind? I was finally free. Besides, I was only at the early stage of foundation establishment. I couldn't beat him yet. Every time I thought I was getting close to his level, he just seemed to get stronger. It was like he was playing with me. Luckily, Zhonghai City wasn't too far, about 200 miles. I was an expert at surviving in the wild, so I wouldn't starve, but without money for a bus, I had to walk. I could technically fly using my internal energy, but I needed to keep a low profile. I didn't want to cause a panic among the locals. As I marched toward the city, I didn't realize that back on the mountain, the old man had already vanished into a cloud of green smoke, leaving the place we'd called home for 15 years. Meanwhile, in Zhonghai City, the Haida Group building towered over the skyline. It was a massive 38-story luxury skyscraper built on real estate money. On the top floor, the chairman, Lu Dahai, was watching a private dance performance. Any outsider would have been stunned. The room was filled with women who looked like supermodels, long legs, pale skin, and mesmerizing moves. To Lu Dahai, they were just background noise. He used this floor to entertain politicians and high-end clients, or to clear his head when he was stressed. Today, he was beyond stressed. His father's condition had worsened again. He'd hired the best doctors in the country, but nobody could find a cure. As the music played, he stared out the window, unaware that a penniless, legendary assassin was currently walking toward him with a 10-year-old marriage contract in his pocket. Years ago, a mysterious old man who specialized in traditional medicine saved the life of the Lu family patriarch. Back then, the old man warned them that he could only extend the old man's life by 10 years. For a permanent cure, they would have to wait for his disciple. To ensure that happened, a marriage contract was drawn up between the old man's disciple and Lu Dahai's daughter. The deal was simple. Within 10 years, the disciple would arrive to fulfill the contract and cure the old man once and for all. But now, that 10-year deadline was staring them in the face. The patriarch's health was failing fast. If things kept getting worse, he wouldn't last another month. Lu Dahai had sent people everywhere to find that old man. With his connections, he should have found him in a heartbeat. But it was like the old guy had vanished from the face of the earth. If the patriarch died, the entire Haida Group would collapse. Banks were already getting nervous, and getting a loan was becoming impossible. I stood at the base of the Haida Group building, staring up at the skyscraper that seemed to pierce the clouds. My eyes practically turned into dollar signs. A building this tall? It looked like the old man had actually set me up with a rich heiress. Maybe I wouldn't have to work a day for the rest of my life. I was busy daydreaming about a life of luxury when a harsh voice snapped me back to reality. Hey kid, what do you think you're doing? Get lost. A massive guy in a security uniform was marching toward me, waving an electric baton. He looked like he wanted to crack my skull open. He took one look at my ragged, patched-up clothes and immediately pegged me for a beggar. Honestly, in a city like Zhonghai, people didn't dress like this anymore. I was pretty annoyed that he'd ruined my daydream. Hey, what I'm doing is none of your business. Is it illegal to stand here? The guard sneered, looking me up and down with pure disgust. Why don't you find a puddle and look at your reflection? You think just anyone can stand in front of the Haida Group entrance? Move it. You're ruining our corporate image. Now I was getting mad. This company belonged to my future father-in-law, right? If it was his, it was basically mine. And this guy was telling me I couldn't stand here? You better watch it, I said. If my father-in-law shows up, you're going to lose your job. The guard laughed so hard he nearly doubled over. Your father-in-law? Go ahead, call him out here. I'd love to see who has the power to fire me. His loud, mocking laughter drew over a few other guards. Brother Zhang, what's so funny? One of them asked. Zhang, the security captain, pointed at me while wiping tears from his eyes. This kid says if he calls his father-in-law, I'm fired. Can you believe this crap? The other guards joined in. Everyone knew Captain Zhang had connections high up in the company. He was untouchable. Plus, looking at my tattered clothes, There was no way I was related to any executive. A younger guard looked at me with a bit of pity. Look, kid, just go. Even if your father-in-law actually works here, he can't afford to offend Brother Zhang. If you drag him into this, he'll lose his job too. Thanks for the tip, I said, but my father-in-law isn't afraid of him. I'm not leaving until I find him. Zhang's face went cold. Fine. Tell me. Who is this father-in-law of yours? I'll check the list and see who isn't afraid of me. His name is Lu Dehai, I said calmly. He's the chairman of the Haida group. Do me a favor and tell him I'm here. The air went still for a second before Zhang exploded. You're asking for a beating. You think our chairman would have a son-in-law like you? Get out of here before I hit you so hard your own mother won't recognize you. He really is my father-in-law, I insisted. Just go get him. I never lie. Zhang raised his baton, his face purple with rage. You really have a death wish, don't you? Our young mistress is one of the most beautiful women in the city. There's no way she'd look at a piece of trash like you. You're insulting my goddess, and I'm going to beat some sense into you. Just as he was about to swing, the screech of tires echoed through the air. A bright red sports car slammed to a halt right at the entrance. A long, pale leg stepped out from the driver's side, and every guard there froze. They stared at the car, then at the girl in her flesh-colored stockings, practically drooling. I looked over too, but I kept my cool. I'd seen plenty of beauties while on missions in Europe and America. It took more than a nice pair of legs to rattle me. What's all this noise in front of the company? The woman asked, her voice cold as ice. This was Lu Shanshan, Lu Dehai's only daughter. She was tall, about 5'7", wearing high heels, a mini-skirt, and a tight white top that showed off a perfectly toned midriff. It's nothing, Miss Lu, Zhang said, quickly wiping the drool from his mouth. This guy claims to be your husband. We were just about to kick him out. I blinked. So this was Lu Dehai's daughter? My future wife? I had to hand it to the old man. He actually did me a favor for once. She was a knockout. Lu Shanshan turned her gaze toward me, her eyes filled with pure loathing. A toad trying to eat swan meat? Beat him and throw him out, she snapped. She looked like she felt physically dirty just by being mentioned in the same sentence as me. She turned to walk into the building. With her permission, Zhang didn't hold back anymore. He lunged at me with the baton. Wait, miss. I really am your husband. I shouted. Look, I even have the marriage contract. That stopped her. She turned around, glaring. Who are you calling miss? Your whole family are misses. What contract? Let me see it. I pulled the document the old man had given me out of my pocket. You're Lu Shanshan, right? Your dad signed this with my master 10 years ago. Take a look. She snatched the paper, clearly planning to expose me as a fraud. She'd never even heard her father mention a marriage contract. But as she read it, her face went pale. Her eyes widened. She recognized the handwriting. It was her father's, and that was his private seal. I saw her reaction and knew she realized it was the real deal. The contract is real, isn't it? Now give it back and take me to see Lu Dehai. But she didn't give it back. Instead, she gripped the paper and ripped it into tiny pieces, scattering them across the pavement. You're a liar, she screamed. You think you can come here with a fake document and scam me? Look at yourself. You're a pathetic loser. You think I'd ever want you? I stood there stunned. She destroyed the evidence before I could even show it to her father. It was pretty clear this girl had no intention of honoring the deal. Fine by me. I wasn't the kind of guy who begged for a woman's attention. If Lu Shanshan didn't want me, fine. I turned on my heel, ready to leave this place behind. You think you can just walk away? She hissed. You come here, try to scam me, and then just leave when you're caught? Not that easy. Zhang beat him. Hard. Old Zhang and his crew didn't hesitate. They lunged at me, their electric batons crackling with blue sparks. I felt a surge of genuine anger. I had tried to be civil. I didn't want to use my strength to bully ordinary people in the city, but if they were going to force my hand, they only had themselves to blame. To me, these guys weren't threats. They were ants. As they swung, I moved. I became a blur, a mere afterimage in the air. Their batons hit nothing but empty space. By the time they realized I was gone, I was standing right behind them with a cold smile. Why choose to be a dog when you could be a man? I asked. If she told you to eat dirt, would you do that too? They tried to spin around and fight back, but I was faster. I delivered a series of rapid-fire kicks. One by one, they went down. I piled them up until they were a literal mountain of bodies, 5 men deep. Then, I planted my foot firmly on top of the pile. Zhang, who was at the very bottom, let out a scream like a slaughtered pig. "Let us go? This is illegal. You're breaking the law." Zhang wailed from under my boot. I actually felt a bit speechless. When I tried to talk sense to them, they used their fists. Now that I used my fists, they wanted to talk about the law. I gave the pile a few more kicks just to drive the point home. I didn't care about their laws. In my world, the biggest fist made the rules. Lu Shanshan stood there, her face turning pale. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her entire security team had been dismantled in seconds by a guy who looked like a nobody. As I stepped toward her, she stumbled back in terror. What are you doing?" she stammered. "Since you tore up the contract, we have no connection anymore," I said coldly. "Don't ever come crawling to me for help when the Lu family gets into trouble. And tell your father, Lu Dahai, that it was your arrogance that broke the deal. This is on you." I turned and walked away without looking back. Behind me, Lu Shanshan collapsed onto the pavement, drenched in a cold sweat. She stared at my back, trembling. For a second, she hadn't seen a man. She had seen a predatory beast ready to swallow her whole. I wandered the city streets, feeling a bit lost. I had come here expecting a wife, and instead, I was homeless. As I reached a busy intersection, my pupils suddenly constricted. A Rolls-Royce was barreling down the road at high speed. Right in its path stood a 4-year-old girl, frozen in fear. The driver was slamming on the horn and the brakes, but he was going too fast. It was too late. I couldn't just watch a child die. I moved like a shadow, scooping the girl up in one arm. With my other hand, I slammed my palm against the hood of the speeding car. Metal groaned. The tires screeched. I stood my ground, forcing the massive vehicle to a dead stop with raw strength. The onlookers gasped, their eyes wide as they realized a catastrophe had been averted. The little girl started wailing in my arms, and a few people actually started clapping. "That guy stopped the car with one hand," someone shouted. "These rich people drive like they own the world," another grumbled. Suddenly, a middle-aged woman burst through the crowd. She saw her daughter crying, and, without even asking what happened, she turned on me. "What is wrong with you?" she screamed. "A grown man bullying a child? Look at how hard she's crying." I was stunned. The crowd was stunned. I had just saved her daughter's life, and she was blaming me? "Ma'am, you don't understand." I don't want to hear it," she snapped. "Since she's okay, I'll let you off this time." She snatched the girl away and walked off, leaving me standing there in total silence. I sighed, wondering if I should have just stayed in the mountains. The city was full of crazy people. The driver of the Rolls-Royce finally scrambled out of the car, looking frantic. "I am so sorry, young man. Are you hurt?" I was in such a rush, I didn't see. "What's more important than a life?" I asked, frustrated. "You're going to kill someone driving like that." I know, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But my master has fallen critically ill. We're racing to the hospital. Please, give me your contact info. I'll compensate you for everything once we get him to the doctors." He looked terrified. He probably thought I had internal injuries from stopping the car. From inside the back seat, a young woman's voice cried out, "Brother Peng, Grandpa isn't breathing. We have to go." The driver, Peng, rushed to open the back door. I leaned in to take a look. One glance at the old man told me everything I needed to know. He was pale, coughing up blood, and his pulse was fading. "Young man, please, let us go," Peng begged. "He doesn't have much time." "He really doesn't," I said flatly. "He won't last 3 minutes. You won't make it to the hospital. You might as well start preparing the funeral." "Who do you think you are?" the girl in the back screamed, her eyes red with tears. "Don't you dare talk about my grandfather like that. He's not going to die." "Believe what you want," I replied. "But unless a miracle happens, he's gone in 3 minutes." Peng looked at me, then at his dying master. He seemed more rational than the girl. He realized they were out of time. "You say he won't last? Are you a doctor?" He looked at my rough hemp clothes and simple shoes, his hope fading as quickly as it had appeared. He looked like he regretted even asking. I wasn't a doctor, and I told them that straight. But I could see exactly what was wrong. His chest carried an old injury. There was something inside him that hadn't been removed, and now it had shifted. It was pressing against his heart. That was the only reason he was in this state. The girl's eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. Very few people knew about her grandfather's secret. It was a piece of shrapnel from a shell, a souvenir from his days on the battlefield. Because it was so close to his heart and medical technology had been limited back then, they could never take it out. Even now, the metal had fused with his body. It was part of him. All they could do was hope it stayed put. But today, someone had bumped into him during their walk. It didn't seem like much at first, but the damage was done. The shrapnel had moved. She looked at me like I was a ghost. Only two kinds of people could know this. Either I was an insider who knew their family secrets, or I was a miracle worker. Can you cure him? She asked. I can, I said. But we're strangers. Why should I bother? I'll do anything, she pleaded. Just save my grandfather. Please. I looked at them and smiled. I figured these people were probably snakes. They'd promised the world to get what they wanted, then turn their backs the moment the danger passed. I decided to test her. Fine, I said. I'll save him. But you have to marry me. How about that? She went silent, biting her lip. I wasn't surprised. I decided to add a little more pressure. You have 1 minute, I told her. If you don't decide now, even a god won't be able to save him. Right then, the old man coughed up another spray of blood. His breathing grew shallow. The girl's hesitation vanished instantly. Her eyes turned cold and determined. I promise, she said. If you cure him, I'll marry you. I laughed. How do I know you won't back out? You'll probably change your mind the second he wakes up. I won't, she shouted. We can go get the marriage certificate right now. Just save him. I hadn't expected her to go that far. Fine, I said. I'll lock in his final breath so he won't die for at least 3 days. If we get that certificate, I'll finish the treatment. Do it, she said. Hurry. Pong, the driver, watched in total shock as the young lady sold herself off to a stranger. I didn't care. I pulled out a silver needle and drove it into the old man's throat. I felt his life force stabilize. Don't try to take him to a hospital, I warned her. If anyone moves this needle, he dies instantly. I didn't actually want to marry her. We were total strangers. I just wanted to see if she was willing to sacrifice herself for her family. She checked his pulse and realized he was still hanging on. She wiped her tears and stood up. Get in the car, she said flatly. We're going to the registry. I froze. Was this actually happening? I was still a virgin, and I was about to get hitched to a woman I just met. I climbed into the back seat, feeling a bit dazed. I took a good look at her. Now that she wasn't crying, I realized she was stunning. She had a clean, elegant look that was completely different from Lu Shanshan. Meanwhile, on the 36th floor of the Haida Group building, Lu Dahai nearly jumped out of his skin. What did you say? He roared. Someone brought a marriage contract and you tore it up? Dad, are you going to help me or not? Lu Shanshan whined. That beggar was a monster. He beat up Zhang and the others. The sound of a slap echoed through the office. Shanshan stumbled back, clutching her face in disbelief. Her father had never hit her before. You hit me? She sobbed. Over a beggar? Dahai ignored her tears. His face was pale. Where's the contract? Where did you throw it? Take me there right now. It's just a piece of paper. She screamed. You'd really make me marry a hobo? You don't understand, Dahai said, his voice trembling with urgency. If that's really him, your grandfather might actually have a chance to live. Move. He dragged her down to the lobby. He didn't care who was watching. He ran straight to the trash cans where a cleaning lady was working and dumped everything onto the floor. He ignored the smell and the filth, frantically grabbing scraps of paper and trying to piece them back together on the ground. The employees walked by in silence, staring at their boss acting like a madman. No one dared to ask if he needed help. After a long time, Dahai let out a sudden, booming laugh. It's him, he shouted. It's really him. Dad, I won't marry him, Shanshan protested. Dahai looked at her. I won't force you forever. This contract was made years ago out of necessity. But you have to play along for now. Once he cures your grandfather, you can do whatever you want. Is he really that good? She asked. 10 years ago, your grandfather was on his deathbed, Dahai said. This man's master was the one who saved him. And back then, his master said that in 10 years, his disciple would come to finish the job. The master sent me here to fulfill a marriage contract and cure the old man once and for all. Dahai looked at his daughter, his voice heavy with a mix of awe and desperation. He asked her if he should believe it. Shanshan's mouth hung open like she'd seen a ghost. It sounded impossible. What kind of medical skill could predict something 10 years in advance? Her grandfather had been perfectly healthy until this recent, sudden collapse. If this wasn't some insane coincidence, then the man I was, or rather, the man they thought I was, had real power. Dahai didn't waste another second. He pulled up the security footage, took a screenshot of my face, and chased after the direction I had gone. My hemp clothes and pants were unique in Zhonghai City. I stood out like a sore thumb. He searched the streets, but couldn't find a trace of me. In a panic, he started pulling strings to check the city's traffic cameras. Meanwhile, I was standing outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, staring at a little red book in my hand. I was completely dazed. I had actually just registered a marriage with Chun Mingyao. I wasn't even at the legal age to get married yet, but the Chun family's influence was massive. Rules didn't seem to apply to them. They even let me take the wedding photo in my patched-up hemp clothes. Damn it, I muttered as the reality hit me. You trapped me. I had been playing along, thinking she'd back out at the last second. But she kept pushing, and I kept following, and now I was a married man. It was a total disaster. Hey, who trapped who? Mingyao pouted, her eyes welling up with tears. You got a bargain, and now you're acting like a victim. You're not a fraud, are you? If you can't cure my grandfather, maybe we should just go back in and get a divorce, I suggested. I'm way too young for this. It's not right. She puffed out her chest defiantly. Who's small? I'm a 36D. Oh, wait, you mean my age? I'll eat more papaya starting tomorrow. But first, you have to save my grandfather. If you don't, I'll castrate you. I was speechless. Her logic was all over the place. I looked at the marriage certificate again. She was only 18. We were both barely adults, and here we were, legally bound. I must have forgotten to check the lunar calendar this morning. My luck was bottoming out. Fine, fine, I sighed, wanting to keep my anatomy intact. I'll save him first. We'll figure the rest out later. We walked back to the Rolls-Royce. Brother Peng was still there, guarding the old man. He hadn't dared to call another doctor or even notify the rest of the family. He knew I had talent because I'd managed to keep the old man's heart beating when anyone else would have failed. He was betting everything on me. He didn't even mention the marriage to anyone, knowing the family would block it and potentially scare me off. For me, the treatment wasn't actually that hard. I wasn't using conventional medicine. If I were a normal doctor, this would be an impossible task. Get out, I told Mingyao and Brother Peng. I need the car to myself. They stepped out, hovering anxiously by the door. Brother Peng, can he really do it? Mingyao whispered. I believe him, miss, Peng replied, flexing his muscles. No ordinary doctor could have kept the master alive this long. Besides, if he's lying, he won't leave this spot alive. I'll make sure of that. Inside the car, I didn't waste time with needles. I slammed my palm onto the old man's chest. A loud bang echoed through the cabin. A jagged piece of shrapnel tore through his skin, shot upward, and pierced right through the roof of the Rolls-Royce. I immediately flooded his chest with spiritual energy, shielding his heart and preventing any secondary damage from the metal exiting his body. Outside, the two of them jumped at the noise. They watched the shrapnel fly through the roof and freeze in the air for a second. Holy crap! What did he do to the master? Peng yelled, lunging for the door. Mingyao grabbed him. Wait. He said he needed silence. If he wanted to hurt Grandpa, he wouldn't need to be this dramatic. Let's give him a chance. She was right. The old man was already at death's door. I was his only hope. I kept my hand pressed to his chest, channeling spiritual energy to nourish his failing heart. Under the glow of my power, the internal wounds began to knit back together at a speed visible to the naked eye. The pale, deathly gray in his face faded, replaced by a healthy flush. His breathing steadied. When I finally pulled my hand away, the old man's eyes snapped open. He looked around the car, then turned his gaze toward me. Young man, did you save me? He had been unconscious, but he wasn't oblivious. He knew he had been on the brink. Technically, your granddaughter saved you, I said. I wasn't planning on getting involved. So, I guess I'm your grandson-in-law now. The old man smiled. I might have looked like a beggar in my rough clothes, but I was calm, skilled, and didn't seem intimidated by his status. He had seen the gates of hell, and I had pulled him back. He was more than satisfied. "Grandpa, you're awake." Meng Yao burst into the car, throwing herself at him. I'm fine, he chuckled, patting her hand. Then he looked at me. "About this marriage. I completely approve." "Wait, old man," I interrupted. "She and I were just joking around. Since you're better now, and we're already at the bureau, let's just go back in and undo it." "What? Do you dislike my granddaughter?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "No, it's not that." "Do you hate her?" "No," I admitted. "Then if you don't hate her, you must like her," the old man concluded with a grin. "In that case, there's no need for a divorce. I'll make the call. We'll pick a lucky day and throw a proper wedding." Chun Mingyao lowered her head, a soft blush creeping up her neck as she listened to her grandfather's enthusiastic approval. I didn't care about the romance, though. I just wanted out. "Since the medical crisis is over, can we go back inside and get the divorce now?" I asked. This whole thing was a misunderstanding. I don't even know how I ended up married. I was worried. The old man back at the temple had sent me here to marry a girl named Lu Shanshan. If he found out I'd accidentally married Chen Mingyao instead, he'd probably break both my legs. "Humph," Mingyao snorted, her shy demeanor vanishing instantly. "What's the matter? Am I not good enough for you? I gave you my word, and I don't go back on it. Come on. You're coming home to meet my parents." I stared at her, horrified. "Are you serious?" I didn't wait for an answer. I turned and bolted. If I couldn't get a divorce, I could at least disappear. A marriage certificate didn't mean much to me anyway. It was just a piece of paper. By the time Ming Yao realized what was happening, I was already a distant silhouette weaving through the crowd. "Let him go," Grandpa Chen chuckled, watching me run. His eyes sharpened with interest. He noticed my speed wasn't normal. I was moving much faster than any ordinary person. "But Grandpa, he's gone," Ming Yao cried. "We haven't even thanked him properly." "It's fine," the old man said with a confident smile. "As long as he's in Zhonghai City, he can't escape the Qin family's reach. Legally, he's already my grandson-in-law." I didn't realize it then, but my little sprint had set the entire city in motion. Two of the most powerful families in Zhonghai, the Lius and the Chens, were now pouring every resource they had into finding me. Meanwhile, I ducked into a quiet alley and finally stopped to catch my breath. "What is wrong with people here?" I muttered. "Marrying a guy the first time they meet him? I know I'm handsome and charming, but this is ridiculous." A stray dog sitting nearby looked up at me and tilted its head, seemingly judging my life choices. "What are you looking at?" I barked, giving the dog a light tap on the head. "Am I not handsome? Why are you shaking your head?" The dog whimpered and lowered its ears, realizing that further disagreement would lead to more taps. Suddenly, my stomach gave a loud, pathetic growl. I froze. I didn't have a single cent on me. I'd been so focused on the marriage drama that I forgot to ask for a medical fee. The old man was a total cheapskate. He sent me on this long journey with nothing but an ancient Nokia phone. No cash, no cards, nothing. In the wild, I could hunt a rabbit or a pheasant. But in the middle of a concrete jungle, I was going to starve. I pulled out the battered Nokia and dialed the old man's number, hoping to beg for some funds. "The number you have dialed is out of the service area," a robotic female voice chirped. Damn it, I cursed. Where did that old fossil go? Fine, I'd have to rely on myself. I couldn't go back to the mountain in disgrace. The old man would never let me hear the end of it. Just as I turned to leave the alley, I heard a whistling sound from above. I looked up and my eyes nearly popped out of my head. Someone was falling straight toward me. "You've got to be kidding me," I yelled. "If you want to jump off a building, that's your business, but don't use me as a landing pad." Part of me wanted to step aside, but I couldn't just watch someone turn into a pancake. I dropped into a deep horse stance, reached up, and caught the man, spinning my body to dissipate the momentum before setting him down safely on the pavement. The man blinked, patting his limbs in a daze. I'm alive." "Hey, brother," I said, annoyed. "If you're feeling suicidal, pick a different spot. You almost took me out with you." "Oh," the man muttered, his eyes vacant and full of despair. "I'll go find another building then." He started to shuffle away like a ghost. I grabbed his arm. This guy had some serious issues. "Wait a second. I just saved your life. Don't you think you owe me a thank you? The man paused, looking at me with hollow eyes. I have nothing left. I can't give you anything, except this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 crumpled 100 yuan bills. It's all I have. He turned to leave again, but I held on. I saw the look in his eyes. He was truly at the end of his rope. Forget it, I said. Come on. I'm taking you for a drink. Alcohol is the best cure for sorrow. I didn't give him a choice. My grip was like a vice around his wrist as I dragged him toward a nearby street stall. I told you, I only have 200 yuan, he protested. If we spend more than that, we'll be washing dishes all night. I ignored him. I was using his own money to buy him dinner. But hey, at least he was getting a meal. We sat down, ordered a few side dishes and 2 bottles of cheap liquor, and started drinking. What's your name? I asked. Chu Feng, he muttered. I grinned. No way. My name is Lu Feng. We're practically brothers. So what's so bad that you jump off a roof? After 2 glasses, the floodgates opened. I lost everything, Chu Feng said. There's no coming back from this. Life has its ups and downs, I countered. Think about your family. You must be married, right? Think how sad your wife would be. He nodded slowly. I was married, but my wife and kid ran off with another man. I winced. Okay, but what about your parents? I'm an orphan. I coughed, feeling a bit awkward. Well, look on the bright side. There are plenty of women out there. You can start over. As long as you're alive, things can get better. I'm bankrupt, he whispered. I owe 500 million yuan. I'll never be free of that debt. I stared at him, stunned. 500 million? That was a hell of a hole to climb out of. How did you even manage that? He took a long swig of liquor. I started my own company after college. It was doing great, but I was arrogant. I signed a gambling agreement, promising the company would go public within 3 years. It should have happened, but I was set up. They blocked the IPO at every turn. In the end, I didn't just lose the company. I lost everything. I have to shoulder all the responsibility for the company. Chu Feng continued, his voice cracking. And I'm stuck with 500 million in debt. Tell me, what's the point of living? I leaned back, studying him. He wasn't a loser. He was a shark who had been outswum. So, you're actually good at business, I noted. Your only mistake was having no background. You got played. Good at it. I wouldn't be here if I was, he muttered, staring into his glass. I trusted the wrong people. I never thought my own wife would team up with outsiders to screw me over. And you want to know the best part? The kid wasn't even mine. I spent 3 years raising someone else's child. I winced. Damn, that is brutal. You know what? Maybe you should go back up there and jump again. I promise I won't stop you this time. Chu Feng actually let out a small, tired laugh. Now that I've said it all out loud, I feel a bit better. I think I've decided not to die. Not die, I teased, raising an eyebrow. How's that going to work? You owe 500 million. Your creditors will beat you to death anyway. Like you said, he replied, clinking his glass against mine. Life has ups and downs. As long as I'm breathing, there's a chance for a comeback. Cheers. I froze for a second. I wasn't sure if I had saved him or cursed him. If I owed 500 million, it wouldn't be a problem. I'd just take out the creditors or finish a few high-level contracts. But I was in China now. Things were different here. The oversight was strict, and I needed to play by the rules. More importantly, I needed to make money just to keep myself fed. I looked at Chu Feng, and a light bulb went off. I didn't know how to run a business, but he did. I needed a moneymaker. If you're interested, I said, why don't you work for me? I'll make sure you're living the high life again. Chu Feng looked me up and down. My clothes were cheap and worn out. Little brother, are you joking? If I follow you, I'll be lucky to eat 3 meals every 9 days. I laughed. I couldn't blame him for not believing me. Don't judge a book by its cover. I might look like a beggar, but give me half a month. I'll clear that 500 million for you. How about it? Chu Feng figured it was just the alcohol talking. Fine. If you clear my debt in 2 weeks, I won't just work for you. I'll call you daddy if you want. Forget that. I waved him off. I don't need a son your age. We kept drinking, burning through several more bottles of cheap liquor. When the bill came, it was 208 yuan. We searched our pockets and couldn't find a single cent over 200. Luckily, the owner recognized Chu Feng as a regular and let the 8 yuan slide. Otherwise, We would have been scrubbing dishes all night. I had nowhere else to go, so I followed Chu Feng back to his cramped rental. He was wasted and collapsed toward the bed the second we walked in. "Wait, don't sleep yet," I said, shaking him. "Do you have a computer?" He pointed vaguely at a desk. "There. Password is 6/8." Then he passed out. I sat down and logged into the dark web. I needed cash fast, and my old line of work was the only way to get it. I scrolled through the listings until one caught my eye. It was an escort mission with a payout of $100 million. The catch? Only the top 5 ranked mercenaries on the Earth leaderboard could even apply. It was perfect. It was practically written for me. The mission involved extracting a scientist from the United States. He wanted to return to China to serve his country, but the U.S. government was blocking him at every turn. He had tried every legal channel, and they all failed. Now he was desperate. I clicked accept. A chat window popped up immediately. The scientist was online and eager. He started typing in rapid-fire English. My English was fine, but I hated using it. "Speak Chinese," I messaged back. The man on the other side seemed relieved. "When can you come and get me?" "I can leave tonight," I replied. "But I'm broke. You need to send me money for a plane ticket first." There was a long silence. I could almost feel his hesitation. Here he was, posting a multi-million-dollar job on the world's most dangerous site, and the top-tier operative he hired was asking for a plane ticket. He probably thought he was being scammed by some teenager in a basement. "I can send you $10,000 first," he finally messaged. "Give me your bank account number." I realized then that I didn't even have a bank account. Back in the day, all my money went to my master's account. "I don't have a card. Just book the earliest flight from Yenjing to the US for me." I sent him my burner ID details, the ones I used for international travel. The scientist was clearly baffled. No money, no bank account, but he wanted a flight? He was either the world's worst scammer or something else entirely. His scientific curiosity must have won out because, 5 hours before takeoff, he sent me the confirmation. I didn't have time to waste. Yenjing was a long way from Shanghai, and I needed travel funds to get to the airport. I looked at Chu Feng's sleeping form, then at his computer. It was the only thing he had left that was worth anything. I grabbed the laptop, headed for a 24-hour pawn shop, and sold it for some quick cash. "Sorry, Chu Feng. I'll get you a better one in 2 weeks." It was lucky that I left at night. I had over 1,000 kilometers to cover to reach the capital, so I pushed my body to the limit. I used a specialized movement technique to save money on transport, sprinting through the darkness toward the Yenjing airport like a ghost in the wind. I barely made it in time for my flight to the United States. Back in Shanghai, the sun rose on a very confused Chu Feng. He woke up with a splitting headache, his mind foggy from the alcohol. He looked around the small apartment, but I was long gone. Then, he noticed the empty space on his desk. His laptop had vanished without a trace. He let out a frustrated shout. He couldn't believe it. He was already drowning in debt, and I had actually stooped to stealing his only possession. He cursed my lack of martial ethics, but his anger didn't last long. He figured I was just as desperate as he was. He had lost $500 million already. What was one laptop? He decided to view it as a life-saving payment for the guy who had shared a drink with him. While I was already thousands of feet in the air, Lu Dehai finally received the surveillance intel he'd been waiting for. He stared at the screen in disbelief. He recognized the man I had been with. It was Chu Feng. In Shanghai, Chu Feng used to be a big deal. He was the rising star of the internet industry, a man every socialite knew. Before his downfall, his potential had been limitless. Now, he was the city's favorite joke, a bankrupt man whose wife had abandoned him. At the same time, the Chen family was having a heated debate. Chen Zhengwo was losing his mind. He looked at his father, the old master, with pure frustration. He couldn't understand how his daughter, Mingyao, had been allowed to register a marriage with a stranger after only one meeting. He didn't care if I had saved the old man's life. The whole story sounded like a fairy tale to him. People don't just come back from the brink of death looking healthier than ever. The old master didn't take criticism well. He slammed a CT scan onto the table. He told his son to look at the evidence or go take a new scan himself if he didn't believe it. Zhengwo looked at the films, stunned. It was impossible, yet there it was. He tried a different angle, suggesting they should have just paid me off instead of giving away his 18-year-old daughter. The old master shut him down instantly. He knew that talent like mine couldn't be bought with mere cash. The only way to secure a man of my caliber was to make him family. He ended the argument right there and ordered his son to follow him. They were going to bring me home. Chu Feng was just about to head out to look for work when he opened his door and froze. Standing in the hallway were two of the most powerful men in the city, Old Master Chun and Lu Dahai, both backed by their respective entourages. The two titans glared at each other. Neither expected the other to be there. They both wanted to recruit me before the other realized my true value. But that secret was clearly out. Without waiting for a greeting, they both barked the same question at Chu Feng. "Where's Lin Yuan?" Chu Feng was stunned. Even at the height of his career, he couldn't have gotten a meeting with these people. Now they were on his doorstep, looking for his drinking buddy. He told them the truth. He had woken up and I was gone. Lu Dahai didn't believe him. He threatened Chu Feng, but Chu Feng didn't flinch. A man who has lost everything isn't afraid of a billionaire's shadow. Chen Jiangwo, however, took a softer approach. He handed Chu Feng a business card, asking him to call if he heard from me. He didn't like that I had married his daughter, but he respected his father's wishes and knew Lu Dahai was a shark. After they left, Chu Feng stared at the card. He wondered who I really was. I had promised to clear his $500 million debt in 2 weeks, yet I didn't have a cent to my name and had stolen his laptop. It didn't make sense. Back at the Chun estate, the search continued. Jiang Wo checked every camera in the area, but I had vanished. The old master warned his son to keep a close eye on Lu Dahai. He knew the man never moved unless there was a massive profit involved, and he wasn't going to let anything happen to his new grandson-in-law. Meanwhile, I was leaning back in a business class seat over the Pacific. The scientist had actually come through with a decent ticket. I looked a bit out of place in my patched hemp clothes and worn-out shoes, but I didn't care. I had a job to do. To my left, a woman sat wearing oversized sunglasses and a baseball cap. She kept glancing at me, studying me while I rested with my eyes closed. I could feel her curiosity. I knew I looked out of place. I was wearing patched hemp clothes and old shoes, but I made sure I was clean and presentable. Without that bit of grooming, people would have mistaken me for a beggar instead of a business-class passenger. "Hey, handsome," she finally called out. I opened my eyes and turned toward her. If someone was calling for a handsome guy, they were definitely talking to me. "What's up, beautiful?" I asked. She chuckled, adjusting her glasses. "You're not modest, are you? You just woke right up when I said that." "I can't help it," I said with a shrug. "My charm is a heavy burden. Women everywhere feel the need to call me handsome or pretty boy. It's a constant struggle." She leaned back, a smirk on her face. "I didn't realize your skin was quite that thick. But you're funny. I assume you're not short on cash since you're sitting in business class, but your clothes, they're unique." "Unique? I think I look normal," I replied. "But I should correct you on one thing. I'm actually very broke. I have about $500 to my name, and that's only because I sold a laptop recently." She looked confused. "Then why fly business class all the way from Yinjing to America? These seats aren't cheap." "I didn't want to," I admitted. "A friend bought it for me. I guess he thinks I'm worth the investment. Or maybe he just likes my face." She studied me for a moment. "You don't seem like an ordinary person. You have a different aura about you. Something mysterious. Unless you have X-ray vision, you won't see through me." I joked. "It's better that way. If I were easy to read, life would be boring." She reached out a slender, elegant hand. "Let's get acquainted. I'm Lin Xiaoxiao." I took her hand, but instead of a firm shake, I gave it a classic, gentlemanly kiss on the knuckles. "You can call me Lu Feng," I said casually. Lin Xiaoxiao's eyes widened behind her shades. I could tell she was stunned. This was clearly her first time being kissed like that by a stranger, and it happened so fast she couldn't even react. It was a standard polite gesture, yet she seemed completely flustered. After a long silence, she tried to regain her composure. You don't recognize me?" I looked at her. "I know your name is Lin Xiaoxiao. You just told me." "No, I mean from before," she pressed. "Doesn't the name sound familiar? Don't I look familiar?" I shook my head. "I have a great memory. If we had met, I'd remember. Is there something wrong with me not knowing you?" She looked genuinely defeated. Here she was, a global superstar hiding behind sunglasses to avoid a riot, and I had no idea who she was. "Don't you watch TV? Do you listen to music?" she asked, desperate to know if I was faking it. Not really, I said honestly. I grew up on a mountain. No signal. My family had an old black and white TV that only caught one news channel, and I wasn't interested in that. Her jaw dropped. She had been to remote villages before, but even those kids knew who she was. She looked at me like I was a caveman who had just discovered fire. The conversation died right there. I had effectively killed the vibe, so we both went back to napping for the remainder of the 10-hour flight. We touched down in America just as the sun was beginning to peak over the horizon. The light was weak, and the air was crisp. Lin Xiaoxiao told me she had snuck out of her house without her assistance just to clear her head. Now that she was here, she looked lost. Lu Feng, why are you even here? She asked as we walked through the terminal. Where are you going? I'm here to pick someone up and take them back to China, I said. They can't go back on their own. You had to fly all this way just to play escort. He can't make it back by himself, I said simply. Why? Is he paralyzed? I don't think so, I replied. I've never actually met him. She blinked, looking more confused than ever. You've never met him? And you grew up in the mountains? Do you even speak English? Just then, a tall, striking woman approached us. How have you been? She asked me with a smile. I'm well, thank you. How about you? I responded. My American English was flawless, the accent perfect. Lin Xiaoxiao stood there, frozen. I had just told her I was a mountain boy who barely watched TV, and now I was chatting away like a local. Men are all liars, I heard her mutter as I walked away. The woman meeting me was Linda. We had worked together on missions in the past. In my line of work, you always connect with local contacts to get the lay of the land, routes, intel, and resources that ordinary people can't access. It was a professional courtesy. If she ever came to China, I'd do the same for her. I have the files you asked for, Linda said as we got into her car. The target is Qian Xueping. He's a 35-year-old Chinese scientist. My intel says he's currently under 24-hour surveillance by 6 FBI agents. If anything goes wrong, they'll be on you in seconds. This won't be easy. I took the file and flipped through it. $100 million was a lot of money, and now I knew why. Getting a man out from under the nose of 6 federal agents was a tall order. 6 agents, huh? I smiled. Good. I like a challenge. The challenge actually made things more interesting. Most people would have turned and run the moment they heard about 6 FBI agents. But I wasn't most people. This was America, not China. If I made too much noise here, getting out in one piece would be nearly impossible. I had 2 choices: slip past the surveillance or kill all 6 agents without leaving a single trace. Once I got the target back to China, the Americans could scream all they want. Without evidence, they'd have nothing but noise. I looked at Linda and thanked her for the intel. I told her that when she finally made it to China, I'd take her out to experience the local nightlife, specifically the old-school flower houses. She asked me what that meant with a curious tilt of her head. I just grinned and told her it was a cultural specialty. She seemed genuinely excited about it, which made me cough to hide a smile. She'd find out soon enough. I turned my attention back to the files. The U.S. government was keeping Qian Xueping in a castle far from the city center. It was a high-security zone for elites. If a stranger even lingered near the perimeter, they'd be hauled in for questioning. I analyzed his commute, but it was a dead end. He was escorted by official vehicles every single day. I had a feeling the FBI already knew about the mission posted on the dark web. They weren't just guarding him. They were waiting for someone like me to walk into their trap. Qian Xueping's life was incredibly dull. It was just the lab and the castle, back and forth. If I were alone, I could slip in and out easily. But moving a middle-aged scientist was a different story. I needed a perfect window. I spent the day resting at the safe house Linda provided, waiting for the sun to drop. When darkness finally fell, I moved toward the castle. I avoided every road and path. Cameras were everywhere, so I took the hard way through the undeveloped mountains. From a high peak overlooking the estate, I saw the problem. The castle was surrounded by wide-open lawns and a massive lake. There was no cover. The place was rigged with 360-degree surveillance. If I disabled a single camera, the alarm would trip instantly. The next morning, I went back for a second look. My spiritual sense caught something the files had missed. There weren't 6 agents. There were 12. 6 were visible, but another 6 were hidden in the shadows. One was tucked inside the castle's pointed spire, watching everything. Another was camouflaged high in a tree, blending perfectly with the trunk. If I had tried to fly in the night before, I would have been shredded by machine gun fire before my feet hit the balcony. I kept circling the perimeter, looking for a blind spot. That's when I saw the small river. It flowed directly into the castle grounds to feed the lake. I pulled out the blueprints Linda gave me, the sewers, the ventilation, the basement layout. I traced the lines until I found a connection. The river water flowed through a drainage system that passed right behind the basement wall. The files mentioned that Qian Shueping was a fitness fanatic. No matter how busy he was, he spent an hour every day in the basement gym. It was his only private time. The gym was separated from the drainage pipe by a single thick wall. That was my entry point. I went back to Linda to grab a few specific pieces of gear. By the time I returned to the river, I was ready. I slipped into the water a long distance away from the castle. I dove deep, staying near the bottom to avoid creating any ripples or noise on the surface. For anyone else, the distance would have been a death sentence. But I held my breath and pushed forward through the dark water. I moved with extreme caution. I was carrying a heavy load of tools, and the entire process took over 20 minutes. A normal person couldn't dream of holding their breath that long, let alone performing manual labor underwater. But for me, it was easy. I slipped into the drainage system exactly as planned. The tunnel was wide enough, but the ceiling was low. I had to hunch my back and crawl forward through the muck. As I moved, I mentally tracked the distance. My goal was the wall behind the basement restroom. If I timed this right, I could break through while the area was empty. The risk was high, and there were too many variables I couldn't control. Fortunately, I had my spiritual sense. I extended my awareness, feeling through the thick stone and soil until I confirmed the basement was empty. Once I was sure, I pulled out the concentrated sulfuric acid I'd prepared. I began pouring it steadily onto the wall. It took half an hour for the acid to eat through the heavy masonry. I carefully peeled away the weakened stone, bit by bit, until I had a hole about 1 meter high and 60 centimeters wide. I crawled through and found myself inside the restroom. It was still late afternoon. My target, Qian Shueping, was still in his lab and hadn't returned to the main castle yet. I had no choice but to wait. Around 7 in the evening, I heard movement. I spread my spiritual sense again. Qian Shueping was being escorted back into the castle by his guards. He looked the same as always, completely unaware that I was already inside, waiting to extract him. He had bought me a plane ticket, but he clearly didn't have much hope. He probably thought the security here was too tight for anyone to penetrate. Qian Shueping ate his dinner and watched the news, sticking to his usual routine. An hour later, he finally headed down to the basement. But he wasn't alone. An FBI agent followed him down, eyes darting around the room, checking every corner. I tensed up. This wasn't in the reports. I shifted into a combat stance, ready to kill the agent the second he became a threat. My spiritual sense tracked him as he moved from room to room. He was heading straight for the restroom. Just as his hand touched the door handle, Qian Shueping snapped. "Are you people ever going to stop?" he shouted, his voice dripping with frustration. "What could possibly be wrong in here? I live under your surveillance every single second of the day. I get 1 hour of private relaxation, and you're going to waste it too?" The agent paused. "Mr. Qian, I'm sorry. This is our duty." "I don't care about your duty," Qian Shueping yelled. "Have I caused any problems? Can I just have a little bit of private space?" The agent looked at the restroom door, then back at the angry scientist. He didn't see anything out of the ordinary. This wasn't the first time Qian Shueping had thrown a tantrum over his lack of privacy, and there had never been a breach before. He decided it wasn't worth the headache. "Fine, Mr. Qian. I won't disturb you. Please be out in exactly 1 hour." I know. You're incredibly annoying." I felt the agent leave the basement and finally let out a breath. If he had walked in, I would have been forced to take him out, and that would have triggered an immediate alarm. We were down to 2 people in the basement now, but our window was tiny. We had less than an hour. 20 minutes of that would be spent underwater just getting out of the castle grounds. After that, we'd have to see how far we could run in 30 minutes. Qian Shueping picked up a pool cue, preparing to break the rack. I moved like a ghost, appearing behind him and clamping my hand over his mouth. He panicked, his eyes bulging as he tried to scream. He started struggling wildly. Don't make a sound, I whispered into his ear. I am Shura from the dark net. I accepted your mission. I'm here to take you out. The terror in his eyes instantly vanished, replaced by pure shock and joy. He nodded frantically. I let go of his mouth. How did you get in here? He hissed, his voice trembling. No time for talk, I said. Put this wetsuit on. Fast. He didn't argue. He scrambled to pull on the gear while I kept watch, helping him zip up and adjust the straps. Once he was ready, I grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the hole I'd made. We slipped into the dark water of the drainage pipe. Wait. Qian Shueping stopped suddenly. What now? I asked, my pulse racing. I have so much data on my computer. I have to take it with me. I stared at him. If you go for that computer now, everyone will know you're escaping. Just get back to China first. We'll figure out the data later. Besides, most of it is already in your head, isn't it? He sighed, realizing I was right. Fine. The data will have to wait. If I'd known you were coming today, I would have destroyed the local copies earlier. Nothing is ever perfect, I said. Let's move. We dove into the lake and swam toward the perimeter. Occasionally, Qian Shueping made a splash, but it was night. Any guard hearing it would just assume it was a fish jumping. We made it past the sensors without tripping a single alarm. We reached the outer edge of the estate where Linda was waiting. The moment we climbed out of the water, she started the engine and tore away into the night. We were out of the castle, but we weren't safe. In 30 minutes, the FBI would realize Qian Shueping was gone. We had to put as much distance between us and that castle as possible. Eventually, Linda pulled over. Shura, I can only take you this far. Good luck. Thanks, I said. If you ever come to China, look me up. I'll take you to a brothel. She laughed. I'll hold you to that. I'm definitely going to check out a Chinese brothel one day. Goodbye. After she drove off, Qian Shueping looked at me, confused. She's a woman. You're taking her to a brothel. So? Who says women can't go to brothels? Qian Shueping's lip twitched. Maybe he'd been out of the loop longer than he thought. We're out, he said, looking around the dark street. But how do we leave the country? We can't exactly swim across the ocean. Don't worry, I told him. The most dangerous place is often the safest. We aren't leaving just yet. Back at the castle, the FBI agent grew impatient. When Qian Shueping didn't come out of the basement on time, he went in to check. He found an empty room. His heart dropped. They scoured the area and finally found the hole in the restroom wall. Fuck. He escaped. Within minutes, the FBI tracked the GPS on Qian Shueping's phone. A fleet of black SUVs screamed toward the signal. They locked down every road, every train station, every airport, and every port. They started a massive dragnet, pulling over anyone suspicious. The city was alive with sirens as officers were pulled out of their beds to join the hunt. But when they finally found the phone, it was sitting in a disgusting sewer pipe. I had tossed it there miles back. I knew exactly how they worked, and I wasn't going to give them an easy trail to follow. I knew the FBI would lock down the airports and ports immediately. Leaving the country right away was impossible. So, I decided to do the opposite. I stayed. The most dangerous place is often the safest. I just needed to wait for the heat to die down before making my move. I took Qian Shueping to a hidden cave I'd scouted earlier. It was stocked with water and food, tucked away on a sheer cliff face. Most people would need a drone just to see inside, but I didn't need gear. I could fly. I carried him up the rock wall and settled in. The view was incredible. From the cave mouth, we could see almost all of Washington, D.C. You're pretty popular, I joked, looking at the city lights. They're going to be turning this place upside down for a while just to find you. Qian Shueping sighed. Being this popular isn't a good thing. I don't even have my freedom. I can't even go home. That's because you aren't strong enough, I said. If you were powerful enough, they wouldn't dare try to keep you. He looked at me seriously. You're right. I gave up everything in America because I want to help China become that powerful. Spoken like a true patriot, I replied. I hope I'm there to see that day. We will be, he said. Without you, I never would have made it out. But you're a patriot too, aren't you? I laughed. Not like you. I'm just doing this for the money. I don't believe that, he smiled. At least you won't sell me back for a higher price, right? I don't know, I teased. You only cost $100 million. If they offer $200 million, I might have to think about it. He laughed awkwardly. but he knew I was joking. If I wanted the reward, I would have handed him over days ago. By now, the bounty on his head was probably astronomical. He'd been running for a long time. He knew how this worked. "How did you do that?" he asked suddenly. "The way you ran up the walls and carried me here. I'm a man of science, but seeing that, it breaks everything I know." I decided to mess with him. "It's easy. My parents beat me every 3 days when I was a kid. By the time I was your age, I could fly. If you have a son, try it. Beat him enough, and he'll be running on walls in no time." Qian Shueping's eyes went wide. "Really? Physical discipline works like that?" He actually looked like he was considering it. I felt a little guilty. I was about to accidentally ruin a scientist's entire worldview with my nonsense. We stayed in that cave for the next few days. I was used to this kind of life. I ate, slept, and stared at the scenery. But Qian Shueping was losing it. He was a man of action and research. Being trapped in a cave made him anxious and irritable. Outside, the world was in chaos. The U.S. government called China, accusing them of kidnapping Qian Shueping and demanding his return. China was genuinely confused. They had tried to get him back through legal channels for years with no luck. They checked every department. Nobody had a rescue mission in place. China fired back, condemning the U.S. for losing a Chinese citizen and then having the nerve to ask China where he was. The international community went wild. Netizens from both countries were at each other's throats online. Everyone wanted Qian Shueping. He was a missile expert. Whoever had him would see their military tech jump forward by decades. We knew none of this. We had no phones, no internet, and no desire to get caught. By the 4th day, the patrols started to thin out. I decided it was time to move. "Do you have any money?" I asked. "No," Qian Shueping said. "I left in a hurry. I have nothing. Don't you have any?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out 500 yuan. "This is it. It's not even enough for one plane ticket, let alone 2. I had planned to give him a disguise and use a fake ID to fly out, but we were broke. Plus, Chinese yuan wasn't exactly useful in the middle of DC. "How are we going back then?" he asked. "How can a top-tier operative be this poor?" "I'm not poor," I snapped. "The old man has all my money. I just can't reach him. A single penny can break a hero's back, I guess." Without money for a flight, there was only one option left: smuggling. I grabbed him and headed down the mountain. Using a map Linda had given me, I navigated toward the harbor under the cover of darkness. We didn't go into the docks, though. We waited nearby until I saw a cargo ship flying a Chinese flag beginning to pull away. I found a thick wooden plank and tossed it into the ocean. Then, I grabbed Qian Shueping and jumped. We landed right on the wood, bobbing in the dark water. I used my energy to propel us toward the moving ship. Qian Shueping gripped my arm, terrified, but then his eyes lit up with wonder. How are you doing this?" "I told you," I said, keeping a straight face. "I got beaten a lot as a kid." "I don't believe you," he muttered. "Think about an eagle," I explained. "It isn't born flying. The mother throws it off a cliff. It's the same logic. I didn't want to get hit, so I learned to run. I ran so much I learned to do this. You can't do it because you weren't beaten enough." He nodded thoughtfully. "That actually makes sense. If everyone in China trained like you, we'd be unstoppable." I felt a chill down my spine. This guy was probably going to be a high-ranking official when he got back. If he started a national policy of beating kids to unlock their potential, I was going to be the most hated man in history. I hoped those future students wouldn't find out it was my fault. "Just stand still," I told him, focusing on the ship ahead. "Don't fall in. If a shark gets you, I'm not diving in to save you." Lu Feng had a mouth like a curse. Every time he spoke, trouble followed. Just as he finished talking about sharks, I felt the wooden plank beneath us lift. The waves grew larger, surging with a predatory energy. A dark shape glided through the water right beneath our feet. A shark was coming up for air. "I told you. You and your big mouth." Qian Shueping yelled, his voice trembling with terror. "There really is a shark. Stay calm," I said, keeping my eyes locked on the water. "The more you panic, the more you'll get its attention." I watched the shark closely. If it decided to make a move, I'd have to apologize to the ocean and turn it into shark fin soup. Fortunately, the beast seemed to sense something dangerous about me. Or maybe it just wasn't hungry. It rolled over, flicked its tail, and dived back into the deep. It came and went in a flash, leaving us bobbing on the plank. I didn't wait for a second encounter. I tapped my foot against the wood, grabbed Qian Shueping by the collar, and leaped. We soared through the air and landed firmly on the deck of the cargo ship. The captain and a female crew member were standing there, enjoying the sea breeze. When they saw two men drop from the sky, they froze. Their eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Who are you?" the captain stammered, his face pale with fear. "Don't ask questions," I said, my voice cold. "And don't make a sound. If anyone finds out we're on this ship, the consequences will be more than you can handle." To drive the point home, I struck out with a single palm toward the ocean. A massive explosion rocked the water. A pillar of spray shot into the sky, and several dead fish rained down onto the deck. The captain and the woman were terrified. They stared at the fish, then back at me, unable to process what kind of monster I was. "Yes, sir. We won't say a word. Not a single word," the captain cried. I noticed a wet patch spreading down his pants. The smell of urine filled the air. He was literally shaking in his boots. "I hope so," I said. "Once we reach China, we'll leave on our own. Now, find us a room. Don't disturb us unless it's urgent." I'll go call someone to prepare it." The captain started, but I cut him off with a sharp look. No, I'll do it myself," he corrected quickly. "I'll handle everything personally. No one else will know." Even though we were all Chinese, I didn't trust them. If I didn't scare them a little, they might sell us out the moment things got difficult. I never liked leaving my life in someone else's hands. "Slayer, wasn't that a bit much?" Qian Shueping whispered as we followed the captain. "They're our countrymen. If we just talked to them, they probably would have helped." "If you want to go back to the US that badly, feel free to go talk to them," I replied. "It doesn't matter to me. My mission would just fail, but they'd have a hard time catching me." Qian Shueping opened his mouth to argue, but went silent. He knew he was completely dependent on me. Until we left these waters, everything was a gamble. Cargo ships were slow. It would take at least 10 days to 2 weeks to reach China, and that was if everything went perfectly. Meanwhile, back in the city, Lu Dehai was losing his mind. "Useless. All of you are useless," he roared at his subordinates. "How does a grown man just vanish into thin air?" His father was getting weaker by the day. Time was running out. I had shown up at their door, and now I was gone. With all the Lu family's power and connections, they couldn't find one person. If this continued, the Lu family was finished. The Chen family, however, wasn't worried. They knew I had registered my marriage with Chen Mingyao. I was officially part of the family now. As long as they didn't let us divorce, I was their son-in-law. They figured I'd have to come back eventually. They just didn't know where I'd gone. The person suffering the most was actually Chu Feng. Ever since Lu Dehai had shown up looking for me, Chu Feng's life had become a living hell. He couldn't find work, and the Ling family sent thugs to beat him every day. 500 million yuan. Where was he supposed to get that kind of money? He had spent all day working at a construction site just to earn 200 yuan. After buying a 10 yuan meal, the thugs took the rest. They told him it was a payment toward his debt. It was a joke, using 190 yuan to pay off 500 million, but he needed that money to survive. Even so, he didn't call Chen Jiangwo for help. He knew the old man only cared about him because of me, and we had only met once. 3 nights later, I was sitting cross-legged in my cabin on the ship, meditating. The spiritual energy out at sea was much thicker than in the city, likely because the environment was untouched. I planned to use the long journey to cultivate. Suddenly, a commotion outside broke my focus. I frowned. A frantic knocking sounded at the door. I opened it to find the captain, looking frantic. "What is it?" I asked. "Little brother, we've hit pirates," he gasped. "They've stopped the ship. They're ordering everyone to the deck." Qian Shueping groaned. "Are you kidding me? How is it this hard to get home?" "Pirates." I spread my spiritual sense out across the ship. The captain wasn't lying. Several boats were flanking us. "Fine," I said. "We'll cooperate." I knew how these pirates worked. They usually just wanted money or cargo. As long as people didn't resist, they wouldn't kill everyone. I didn't want to cause a scene unless I had to. If the pirates didn't push their luck, I'd let it go. When we reached the deck, the crew was already lined up, trembling. Pirates with machine guns surrounded us. Some were already tearing into the cargo hold. "Boss, it's all oil," one pirate shouted excitedly. "This ship is a gold mine." They had seen the ship sitting low in the water and decided to launch a surprise attack. They didn't realize they had hit the jackpot. The cargo was worth over $50 million. I sighed. I hadn't bothered to check what the ship was carrying. If it was just general goods, they might have taken a bribe and left. But a ship full of oil. They weren't going to let that go. Listen up, the pirate leader barked, pointing his gun at the crew. You're going to sail this ship to the coordinates we give you. Boss, we can't do that, the captain pleaded, tears in his eyes. We can give you all our personal money, but we can't give up the cargo. We'll never be able to explain it. Thwack. A pirate slammed the butt of his rifle into the captain's head. He collapsed onto the deck, blood streaming down his face. I'm giving you a choice because you're useful, the pirate growled. You have 1 minute to decide. For every minute you waste, I'm going to pick one lucky person and put a bullet in their head until you change your mind. The sound of guns being cocked echoed across the silent deck. The metallic click of guns being cocked echoed across the deck. It was a sound that made my skin crawl. The crew members were terrified. Even though they had spent years facing the rough waves of the ocean, having a cold barrel pointed at your head was a different story. They were trembling, their faces pale with fear. Qian Shueping leaned toward me, his voice a frantic whisper. Lu Feng, you're so capable. Can't you find a way to save everyone? I didn't even look at him. They have nothing to do with me. Why should I save them? We're all from Huaxiao, he pleaded. Besides, we're trapped here too. Everyone's safety depends on you. I considered it for a moment. I could save them, but it'll cost you extra. Qian Shueping looked like he was about to cough up blood. He thought he had finally reached my sense of heroism, but all I was thinking about was the paycheck. What are you two mumbling about? The pirate leader barked. He was furious. Most people were shaking in their boots, but we were standing there having a casual chat. To him, it was a blatant insult to the weapons in their hands. Since you won't listen, I'll start with you. He raised his gun and fired. The sharp crack of the gunshot sent the crew into a panic. People screamed and dove for cover, clutching their heads. The bullet was aimed straight at my chest. Qian Shueping flinched, his eyes snapping shut. But I didn't move. I just stood there, watching the pirates with a faint smile. The pirate who fired stood frozen. He knew he had aimed perfectly. Why was I still standing? Thinking it was a fluke, he snarled and pulled the trigger twice more. Asterisk bang. Bang. Asterisk 2 more shots rang out. I remained motionless, my expression calm, almost bored. Impossible, the pirate screamed. How are you not dead? Where are my bullets? Are you looking for these? I asked. I opened my palm. 3 flattened lead slugs sat in the center of my hand. The pirates gasped, backing away in pure terror. Catching bullets with bare hands was the stuff of legends, and they realized they had just stepped onto a ship with a monster. I wasn't going to get involved, I said, my voice turning ice cold. If you had just taken some money and left, I would have let it go. But you chose to seek death. Fine, I'll give it to you. With a flick of my wrist, the 3 bullets whistled through the air. Asterisk thud, 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 asterisk. 3 pirates, including the one who had shot at me, collapsed instantly. Each one had a neat hole right between their eyes. They didn't even have time to scream. Their eyes were wide, frozen in a state of permanent shock. Who are you? The leader stammered. He had never seen anyone turn spent bullets into lethal projectiles with a simple wave of the hand. Every pirate on deck immediately swung their guns toward me. I didn't blink. You don't need to know who I am, I said. But you should tell your men to move those guns. I can guarantee that if anyone pulls a trigger, you'll be the first one to die. The pirate leader broke into a cold sweat. He believed me. 3 of his men were already dead, and I hadn't even broken a sweat. He could tell by the look in my eyes that I didn't care about life or death. To me, this was just a minor annoyance. Just as he was about to make a choice, powerful searchlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the ship. A booming voice erupted from a megaphone across the water. Drop your weapons. Surrender immediately. Boss, it's bad, a pirate shouted, pointing at the horizon. A Huaxiao naval vessel has us surrounded. The captain had been smart. The moment the pirates boarded, he had sent a distress signal to the nearest Huaxiao Navy patrol. Luckily, they were nearby on a mission and had arrived in record time. The pirate leader actually looked relieved. If he surrendered to the Navy, he'd be processed, and eventually sent back to his own country. He might spend some time in a cell, but he'd live. If he stayed on this deck with me, he knew he was a dead man. "We surrender. We surrender," he shouted, throwing his gun down. The Huaxia sailors boarded the ship quickly, disarming the remaining pirates and securing the deck. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. They were safe. When the naval officers inspected the bodies on the deck, they were stunned. 3 pirates dead, each shot perfectly in the center of the forehead. There had been no firefight. The officers looked at the scene, confused, but nobody offered an explanation. They decided not to press for details. Their job was to process the criminals and get the ship moving. As the officers were preparing to leave, Qian Shueping stepped forward. "Wait, officer." A high-ranking officer turned around. "Is there a problem?" "I need to speak with your commander. It's urgent." "I am the commander of this fleet," the man replied. "You can speak to me." Qian Shueping took a deep breath. "My name is Qian Shueping. I've just escaped from the United States. If it's possible, I need you to take me back to China." The commander's eyes widened. "Did you say Qian Shueping?" The name was famous. The military had been running secret operations for months trying to coordinate his return, but they had received no word of his escape. "Yes," Qian said, handing over his ID. "This is my documentation." The commander checked the ID against his records, his excitement growing. Despite the disheveled hair and the salt-stained clothes, the face matched. He grabbed Qian's hand and shook it vigorously. "Mr. Qian, how did you get out? Why are you on a cargo ship?" "I am Senior Colonel Gu Sha." "It's a long story, Colonel," Qian said, gesturing toward me. I was leaning against a railing with my arms crossed, looking disinterested. "It's all thanks to this young man. He's the one who rescued me." Gu Sha turned to look at me. He had noticed my strange clothes earlier, simple hemp pants and a shirt, but he hadn't thought much of it. Now, his gaze was filled with respect. He knew exactly how high the security was around Qian Shueping. His own teams had spent months planning, failing several times, and even losing men in the process. And yet, I had done it alone. "Young man, on behalf of the country, I want to thank." "Don't thank me," I interrupted, cutting him off. "I was paid. This was a transaction. He gave me money, and I did the job." Gu Sha's hand stayed frozen in midair, looking a bit awkward. He pulled it back and cleared his throat. "Even so, Mr. Qian's value cannot be measured in money. Regardless of your reasons, we are in your debt. Please, both of you come with me. We'll take you home on the warship." I had no problem escorting them back. My main goal was getting Qian Shueping home safely, and traveling with the Huaxiao Navy made things a lot easier. It saved me from a lot of unnecessary trouble. As soon as we were on board, Gu Sha reported the situation to his superiors. They took it incredibly seriously. Within an hour, a massive fleet of warships surrounded us for protection. Fighter jets circled above, fully loaded with live ammunition. They were ready to blow anything out of the sky that even looked at us wrong. "Looks like you're a pretty big deal," I joked, watching the display of military might. Qian Shueping looked humble. "I'm just a researcher. I don't care much for these formalities." I shrugged. "Whatever you say. You're the noble one. I'm just the muscle." I looked him in the eye. "Look, we've been through life and death together, but I don't care about your story. Just make sure I get paid. Once the transaction is done, we go our separate ways." Qian Shueping's expression turned awkward. He rubbed the back of his neck. I don't have the money right now. It's all in American accounts. They've probably been frozen. I can't transfer a cent." My heart nearly stopped. I felt like I was having a breakdown. "Are you kidding me? I dragged you across the ocean, and now you tell me you're broke? If I knew that, I would have left you in the States. I had worked myself to the bone for this mission. Now, the client was telling me he couldn't pay the bill. It felt like a bad joke." "Little brother, don't worry," Gu Sha interrupted. "Mr. Qian might be short on cash, but the country won't let you go empty-handed. The reward will be substantial. How much did you two agree on? I'll report it to my superiors." $100 million US, I said flatly. "I don't care who pays, as long as I get the money." Gu Sha froze. His jaw dropped. 100 million? That's an insane amount. What kind of reward reaches that high? I saw his face darken and frowned. "What's the matter, Colonel? Is there a problem?" Qian Shueping stayed quiet. It was a massive sum, but he knew I had risked my life. He was already planning to hand over his future salary and every bonus he'd ever earned to pay me back. I'll have to report this, Gusha stammered. I don't know if they'll approve such a huge amount. He stepped away to make the call. To his absolute shock, the higher-ups didn't hesitate. They agreed immediately and even bumped the reward up to 1 billion huaxia coins. But there was one condition. They wanted to meet me. Gusha came back and delivered the news. The chief wants to see you. If you agree, the reward goes up to 1 billion. I did the math in my head. That was an extra 300 million. Fine, I said. For that much extra, I can manage a meeting. I don't like dealing with officials, but I like money. Gusha stared at me, speechless. Most people would give anything for an audience with the top brass. I was treating it like a chore I was being bribed to do. When our ship finally docked, the scene was grand. A massive welcoming committee and an honor guard were waiting. As soon as we stepped onto the pier, Li Pinggan, the head of the Academy of Sciences, rushed forward to embrace Qian Xueping. Mr. Qian, welcome home. It's been a long journey, Li Pinggan said, his voice thick with emotion. It was worth it to be back, Qian Xueping replied. They chatted about labs and housing for a while, completely ignoring me. I cleared my throat loudly. Is this your chief? I've seen him. If we're done, I'll take my money and go. The atmosphere turned cold instantly. Everyone stared at me. Li Pinggan looked at me with pure disdain. Young man, is money all you think about? Li Pinggan snapped. You helped Mr. Qian return, and we appreciate that, but you are incredibly shallow. Don't you have any sense of selfless service? It's just money, money, money with you. I didn't back down. You can stay on your high horse all you want. I earned this with my own skill. What I do with my life is none of your business. Keep your mouth shut. You are arrogant. Unreasonable. Li Pinggan's chest heaved with anger. Another man stepped forward. This was Admiral Lingi. He looked at me with a mix of annoyance and respect. He was a soldier. He valued strength above all else, and he could tell I was dangerous. Little brother, I'm the Navy commander, Lingi said. But you're mistaken. I'm not the one who wants to see you. A very important person in Yinjing requested this. We need to head there now. Fine, I said. Let's get it over with. We skipped the pleasantries and got into a car. 2 hours later, we arrived at a nondescript building on the outskirts of Yinjing. From the outside, it looked ordinary. But the moment I stepped inside, my skin prickled. I sensed them everywhere. Strong auras. Some were almost as powerful as me. This was the first time I had ever encountered so many masters in one place. This world was deeper than I thought. My spiritual sense pushed further down. The real facility was underground, a massive, hollowed-out space where people were training. What is this place? I asked. This is the Dragon Ancestor, Ling Yi whispered. The man you're meeting is the leader of the group. He heard about what you did and got interested. Dragon Ancestor? Never heard of it. You'll find out soon enough, Ling Yi said. He didn't take me underground. Instead, we took the elevator to the very top floor. The doors opened, and I saw a middle-aged man wearing a simple traditional suit standing by the window. He turned around, and the air in the room seemed to grow heavy. The man waiting for me on the top floor was the leader of the Dragon Group. Ling Yi stepped forward and gave a crisp salute. He told the man he had brought the person he requested. The man stood up with a smile and thanked Ling Yi for his hard work. Then he asked Ling Yi to wait in the guest room so we could talk privately. Ling Yi nodded. He knew the rules of this place. He left without another word, leaving me alone with the stranger. I didn't wait for an invitation. I walked over and plopped down on the sofa. There was a bowl of grapes on the table, so I grabbed a handful and started eating. I looked at him and asked what he wanted. I knew he didn't bring me here just to stare at me. Until I knew his angle, I wasn't going to be polite. The man looked at me and sighed. He called me Shura, the #1 killer on the dark net. He seemed surprised that I was so young. He called me a young hero. I froze for a second. He had already investigated me. This dragon group was clearly more capable than I thought. I told him straight. I had never performed a mission within the borders of China. He laughed and said if I had, I wouldn't be sitting here chatting with him. He was right about that. I asked him why I was here. We had met, so now it was time to pay up. I told him to give me the money so I could leave. I had things to do. The man, whose name was Long Jun, was straightforward. He slapped a bank card onto the table. He told me there were 1 billion yuan inside, not a penny less. The password was 6 sixes. Then he asked for 30 minutes of my time since he had secured an extra 300 million for me. I didn't hesitate. I snatched the card and stuffed it into my pocket. 30 minutes. I told him to make it quick. He introduced himself properly as the leader of the dragon group. Then he asked for my real name. I told him, Lu Feng. He repeated it, musing that there was a powerful Lu family in Yanjing. He asked if I was one of theirs. I told him no. I was an orphan, raised by my master. When he tried to ask who my master was, I shut him down. I told him it was none of his business. He tried to explain what the dragon group was, but I interrupted him again. I wasn't interested. Long Jun told me not to be so quick to refuse. He said it would only benefit me to listen. Then he looked me in the eye and asked if I was a cultivator. In the outside world, people would be shocked to hear that word. But here, I had already sensed many cultivators. Their energy felt different from mine, but the core was the same. I told him he already knew the answer, so why ask? He asked if I had reached the internal realm. He seemed to be testing me. He said an 18-year-old in the internal realm was a rare genius in China. He assumed that since I rescued Qian Wanping alone, I had to be a master. I told him I didn't know what an internal realm was. He looked confused. He asked if I was only at the peak of the external realm. I asked him if he thought I was weak. I realized our cultivation systems were different. That explained why the people downstairs felt off to my senses. Long Jun's eyes widened. He asked if I was in the transformation realm. Then he shook his head, saying it was impossible. The youngest transformation master in history was 30 years old. I told him I wasn't that either. He looked like he was going crazy. He asked what I was then. Was I beyond the transformation realm? I told him the truth. I didn't know his ranking system. My path was different. Long Jun didn't believe me. He suddenly lunged, throwing a palm strike toward my chest. He didn't use his full strength, but it had the power of a mid-level internal realm master. I didn't even blink. I met his palm with a casual strike of my own. A loud thud echoed through the room. Long Jun was sent stumbling back several steps. I stayed exactly where I was, my feet rooted to the floor. He stared at me, breathless. He realized he had completely underestimated me. To him, his power was like a river, but mine was like the vast, bottomless ocean. He asked how I could be so strong. I looked at him and asked a simple question. Was everyone in the dragon group as weak as him? Long Jun looked like he was about to spit blood. He was one of the strongest people in the group, and the dragon group represented the peak of China's combat power. He tried to save face. He claimed he only used 30% of his power to test me. I nodded. I told him it was impressive that he only flew back 3 steps after I gave him a casual slap. Anyone else would have been crushed. He looked like he wanted to cry. He changed the subject quickly. He asked if I wanted to join the dragon group. He even offered me the position of vice leader. I told him I wasn't interested. Why would I want to be the leader of a bunch of weaklings? Especially a vice leader. Besides, I didn't like being tied down. My master had controlled me for years because he was stronger than me. Why would I let these people boss me around? Long Jun looked like he wanted to hit someone. The dragon group wasn't weak. In this country, they held supreme authority. But against me, that authority didn't mean a thing. Long Jun didn't want to let me go. He told me that countless people dreamed of joining the dragon group. He started listing the benefits, saying it would make my life in China much easier. He begged me to reconsider and not to be so quick to refuse. I didn't care. I told him I liked my freedom. Besides, with my current strength, did I really need help getting things done? I wasn't a criminal. Why would a law-abiding citizen like me need special protection or a secret identity? Long Jun opened his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. I told him my 30 minutes were up and it was time for me to leave. I didn't wait for a response. I just waved my hand and walked out of the Dragon Group building without looking back. Shortly after I left, a tall woman with sharp features walked into Long Jun's office. She asked him if I had refused to join. Long Jun nodded, sighing that experts always had a bit of a temper. The woman's face went cold. She suggested she go teach me a lesson. She thought I was being ungrateful by rejecting a personal invitation from the leader. Long Jun immediately tried to stop her. He warned her that she was no match for me, and that she'd likely end up being the one getting beaten. She didn't believe him. She thought he was just worried she'd break me. She told him she'd show some mercy, and then turned to leave. Long Jun shouted after her, calling her Lu Qingqing and telling her to get back there and stop causing trouble. It didn't work. Lu Qingqing ignored him completely, just like I had. Long Jun sat alone in his office, wondering what was wrong with young people these days. He decided to let her go. He figured I didn't seem like a bad guy, so I probably wouldn't kill her. Outside, I was annoyed. The area was deserted, and there wasn't a taxi in sight. It seemed the Dragon Group was happy to pick me up, but had no intention of dropping me off. As I was frowning at the empty road, a car pulled up. Lu Qingqing was behind the wheel. She looked at me and commanded me to get in. I figured, why not? She was just a girl. It wasn't like she could eat me. We hadn't driven very far before she spoke. Her voice was icy as she asked who gave me the courage to reject her leader. I realized then that this was a revenge mission. I asked her if it was illegal to say no to them. She told me I could refuse, but only if I had the strength to back it up. She slammed on the brakes and pulled over. She told me to get out. When I asked what for, she said it was time for my beating. She mocked me, saying I wasn't handsome enough for her to be giving me a free ride. I laughed. I told her she was pretty, but her heart was rotten. I pointed out that even her leader didn't dare fight me. She claimed he just didn't want to lose face by fighting a nobody. Since he wouldn't do it, she would do it for him. She called me a weakling. I told her the Dragon Group must be full of weaklings if they had to force people to join. That pushed her over the edge. She grit her teeth, threw a punch, and screamed for me to watch her fist. I smiled, thinking at least she was polite enough to warn me before attacking. I reached out and easily caught her fist in my palm. No matter how much she struggled or tried to pull away, my grip was like iron. Seeing she couldn't move her arm, she tried a low blow. She swung her leg toward my groin. I couldn't believe how vicious she was. I grabbed her leg with my other hand just in time. I told her she nearly ended my family line and joked that she'd have to take responsibility for me if she had succeeded. She spat at me, calling me a rogue. She looked like she was about to cry. With one hand and one leg pinned, she was completely helpless. I pointed out that she was the one who attacked my private parts, so she was the real rogue. In a fit of rage, she used her remaining leg to kick at me. I let go of both her hand and her leg and stepped back. She lost her balance and hit the ground with a loud thud. She started crying, accusing me of bullying a woman. I told her that if she weren't a woman, I would have broken both her legs already. But leaving her there was a problem. Then, I saw a large tree nearby and got an idea. She saw the look on my face and panicked. She asked what I was doing. I told her she'd find out soon enough. I ignored her protests and pulled off her boots. Then I stripped off her socks. Finally, I unbuttoned her trench coat and pulled it off her. She started screaming for help, calling me a rapist. She threatened me, saying the Liu family would never let me go. She begged me to stop, sobbing that she wouldn't do it again. She clearly thought I was going to do something terrible to her. Instead, I flipped her onto her stomach. I pulled her hands and feet behind her back. I tested the strength of her trench coat and found it was perfect for what I needed. I quickly and skillfully tied her hands and feet together. Lu Qingqing went silent, looking stunned. It wasn't what she expected. Then, she seemed almost offended that I didn't find her attractive enough to actually try anything. She started screaming again, so I took one of her socks and stuffed it into her mouth. She struggled wildly. To her, this was a total humiliation. I didn't care. I picked her up, leaped onto a high branch of the tree, and hung her there by the makeshift rope. I told her I was borrowing her car and said goodbye, or rather, I told her I hoped I'd never see her again. I jumped down, hopped into her off-road vehicle, and drove off toward Zhonghai. I felt pretty good about it. I needed a car, and she had conveniently delivered one to me. She really was a good person. I didn't find out until later that she was rescued shortly after I left. Unfortunately for her, the people who found her were her own colleagues from the Dragon Group. Being found tied to a tree with a sock in her mouth right outside her own headquarters was a humiliation she would never live down. The story of Lu Qingqing being tied to a tree with her own sock in her mouth spread through the Dragon Group like wildfire. Within hours, she was the laughingstock of the elite organization. Humiliated and furious, she didn't waste a second. She started tracking my movements immediately. When she learned I was driving her car toward Zhonghai on the highway, a plan formed in her mind. She couldn't beat me in a fight, but she could definitely mess with me using the law. She called her best friend, Ouyang Jing, who happened to be a captain in the Zhonghai Criminal Police Force. She reported her car as stolen. By the time I reached the Zhonghai toll booth, a team of officers was already waiting for me. A female officer stepped forward and gave me a sharp salute. She had a stern face, but I couldn't help but notice her figure was incredibly well-defined under her uniform. "Hello, please show me your driver's license and vehicle registration," she said. I stared at her, feeling like an idiot. I didn't have a license. I didn't have registration papers. I had just stolen a car from a secret agent. Why was I this unlucky? They weren't checking anyone else, just me. It didn't take a genius to figure out what happened. That little brat Lu Qingqing had set me up. "Look, officer," I said, trying to be casual. "I don't have them on me today. Why are you only checking my car?" "Don't get smart with me," she snapped, her posture straightening. "Focus and cooperate with the investigation." I looked at her badge and then back at her. She seemed annoyed, probably because people usually stared at her chest before they looked at her face. It was a curse of being that well-endowed, I guessed. "Let's be honest," I said. "Did a crazy girl call you and tell you to wait for me?" Ouyang Jing froze. She knew exactly who I was talking about. She almost laughed at the description of her friend, but she caught herself. Business was business. "We received a report that this vehicle was stolen," she said firmly. "Step out of the car. You're coming with us." "I didn't steal it," I protested. "She let me drive it. How about I just give you the keys and you take the car back? I'm a busy man." "It's not just about the car anymore," she replied, pulling out a pair of silver handcuffs. "You're a suspect in a felony. You're under arrest." I sighed as the cold metal clicked around my wrists. I could have snapped those cuffs like they were made of paper, but that would make me a fugitive. I wanted to live a normal life in the city, not spend it running from the cops. As she led me to the police cruiser, I kept talking. "Officer, I'm telling you, I didn't steal it." She left it on the side of the road, and I was just helping her move it. "Shut up," she muttered. "Whatever you say, Officer Big Chest," I joked. She nearly tripped. "Don't call me that." Okay. How about Officer Extra Large?" "My name is Ouyang Jing," she screamed. I thought she was going to kick me right there. She knew deep down that I probably hadn't stolen the car. Nobody was crazy enough to steal from the Dragon Group, but she had a job to do. News of my arrest traveled fast. Lu Dehai found out almost instantly, and so did Old Man Chun. "What?" the old man roared in his study. "They arrested my grandson-in-law? Chen Jiangwo, get the car. We're going to the police station right now." "Grandpa, I'm coming too," Chen Mingyao added, her face pale. "Good. Let's see who has the nerve to lock up a member of the Chen family." Meanwhile, Lu Dehai was ecstatic. He saw this as a golden opportunity. "This is perfect. Lu Feng is in trouble. If I bail him out, he'll owe me everything. My father's life depends on him." He raced to the station, arriving at the exact same time as the Chen family. The two groups bumped into each other right at the entrance. "Old Man Chen," Lu Dehai asked, surprised. "Are you here for Lu Feng too?" "Don't ask stupid questions," the old man grunted. "What business do you have with him?" "He's my son-in-law," Lu Dehai said, puffing out his chest with pride. "It's only natural for a father-in-law to look after his own." The Chen family froze. Chen Jiangwo looked like he was about to explode. His daughter had just registered her marriage with me this morning, and now another man was claiming me? "What did you say?" Old Man Chen asked, his voice trembling with shock. "Since when is he your son-in-law?" 10 years ago, Lu Dehai explained, pulling out a crumpled, taped-together piece of paper. "He had a marriage contract with my daughter. He came to Zhonghai specifically to fulfill it. See for yourselves." Chen Jiangwo grabbed the paper. His face turned green, then purple. Chen Mingyao looked like she'd been slapped. Her husband was promised to someone else. "This thing is a mess," Old Man Chen scoffed, pointing at the taped edges. "It looks fake. Is the Lu family so broke they can't even afford decent paper for a forgery? My daughter accidentally tore it, that's all," Lu Dehai shouted. "Lu Feng is dying to marry her. A little ripped paper doesn't change the contract." Old Man Chen smirked. "Well, you're too late. Lu Feng has already registered his marriage with my granddaughter. Your little plan has failed." "Impossible," Lu Dehai gasped. "That can't be." The two groups pushed past each other, storming into the station. They burst into the chief's office, startling Chief Yi Jingqing. "Chief Yi, I'm here to collect someone," Old Man Chen said, his voice booming. "Oh, Elder Chun, you could have just called," the chief said, sweating. "Who do you need?" Before he could answer, Lu Dehai shoved his way forward. "Release Lu Feng immediately, or I'll tear this entire station down brick by brick." "Mr. Lu, please," the chief stammered. "Let's talk about this calmly. Who exactly is this Lu Feng?" Chief Yi Jingqing asked, his forehead wrinkling in genuine confusion. "When was he even brought in? I haven't heard a single word about this." Old Man Chen didn't have time for excuses. He fixed the chief with a cold, piercing stare. "Chief Yi, the man I'm here to bail out is named Lu Feng. I suggest you handle this carefully." Chief Yi broke into a cold sweat. These were two giants of Zhonghai City. In all his years as chief, he'd never seen them personally show up to bail someone out, let alone together. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He didn't even know what Lu Feng had done. If it was just a simple brawl, he could wave his hand and let the kid go. But with these two breathing down his neck, he was flying blind. "Elder Chun, Mr. Lu, please," Chief Yi said, his voice dropping to a humble tone. "My officers haven't reported this to me yet. Let me go check the holding cells and see if he's even here." Old Man Chen nodded curtly, but Lu Dehai wasn't as patient. "You'd better hurry up. I don't have all day." Chief Yi hurried out, cursing his luck. If it weren't for the fact that Lu Dehai's father was still alive and influential, he wouldn't have tolerated that tone. He headed straight for the interrogation rooms and found Officer Ouyang Jing. "Chief, what are you doing here?" Ouyang Jing asked, surprised. The chief never handled small cases personally. "I'm here about Lu Feng," the chief snapped. "What did he do?" "We got a report for grand theft auto," Ouyang Jing explained. "I just brought him in. I haven't even started the interrogation yet." "Car theft?" The chief scoffed. "A man like him needs to steal a car? Someone's playing games. Release him immediately." Ouyang Jing shook his head. "I can't. When I caught him, he was literally driving the victim's car. I have to follow procedure." Chief Yi felt a headache coming on. Ouyang Jing had powerful family connections too, so he couldn't just bark orders at him. "Where's the victim? Can we settle this? Maybe it's a misunderstanding." "The victim is in Yanjing," Ouyang Jing replied. "If you want a settlement, you'll have to call her yourself. Her name is Lu Qingqing, from the Yanjing Lu family." Chief Yi almost collapsed. The Lu family from the capital? That was another god-tier power he couldn't afford to offend. Lu Feng wasn't just a prisoner. He was a live grenade. He wanted to kick the boy out of his station right now, but he was trapped. He stepped into the hallway and dialed Lu Qingqing's number. "Yi Jingqing." Lu Qingqing's voice was cold over the line. "Have you processed him yet? He stole my car. He should be behind bars, not having his chief call me for a settlement." "Miss Lu, let's be honest," the chief pleaded. "Was it really a robbery? To prosecute, you need to come down here, give a statement, and provide evidence. We can't just hold him indefinitely without your cooperation." "I don't care about your procedures," she snapped. "That's for your detectives to figure out. My only demand is that he stays locked up." Chief Yi realized then that this was a personal grudge. Lu Qingqing wouldn't cooperate because she knew the charges wouldn't stick, but she wanted to use the system to harass him. "Miss Lu, if you don't cooperate, I'll eventually have to release him for lack of evidence," he said firmly. "I'll return your car, but I can't keep him." "Are you tired of being chief, Yi Jingqing?" Lu Qingqing threatened. "If you can't handle a simple thief, maybe I should send the Dragon Squad to audit your station." The chief shuddered. The Dragon Squad had the power to wipe him out with a single phone call. He felt small, squeezed between the local tigers and the capital's dragons. He decided to stop trying to be the hero and just lay the cards on the table. "Miss Lu, the Chen family and the Lu family are both here in my office right now," he admitted. "They are both demanding his release. I'm stuck in the middle." "The Chens and the Lius?" Lu Qingqing laughed. "Small-time local families. They're nothing. Do your job. If they have a problem, tell them to call me." That was exactly what Chief Yi wanted to hear. He walked back into his office where the two men were waiting. "Well," Lu Dehai demanded, "can we take him?" "Elder Chun, Mr. Lu, I'm afraid it's complicated," the chief said. "Lu Feng is being held for car theft. The victim is Lu Qingqing of the Yanjing Lu family. Unless she drops the charges, my hands are tied. The room went silent. The Chun and Lu families were powerful in Zhonghai, but the Lu family from Yanjing was on a different level. Lu Qingqing, old man Chen muttered, his brow furrowed. He knew Lu Feng was talented, but he couldn't understand how a kid like him had managed to offend someone that powerful. This is a mess, Lu Dehai grumbled. Is there any other way? Bail? A temporary release? We just need to get him out of here first. Lu Dehai didn't waste any time. He asked Chief Yi for Lu Qingqing's number right there in the office. As soon as the call connected, his tough guy persona vanished. He started bowing to the phone, his voice dripping with fake humility. Hello? Is this Miss Lu Qingqing? I'm Lu Dehai, from the Lu family in Zhonghai. I wanted to chat about Lu Feng. I know he took your car, but you didn't really lose anything, right? How about this? You name a price, I'll pay whatever you want, and we just let this whole thing slide. The response was a verbal slap to the face. Lu Dehai? Who the hell do you think you are? Lu Qingqing's voice screamed through the speaker. You think your stinking money means anything to me? Don't even dream about getting Lu Feng out. If you keep trying, I'll make sure you regret it. She slammed the phone down. The line went dead. Chief Yi watched from the side, feeling a strange sense of relief. At least he wasn't the only one getting trampled by her. He turned to Lu Dehai, playing the victim. You see, Director Lu, it's not that I won't release him. I simply can't. Please don't make this harder on me. Lu Dehai was shaking with rage. He had lost face in front of everyone. He turned to Old Man Chun, his eyes narrowing. Elder Chun, it looks like my name doesn't carry much weight with Miss Lu. Maybe you should try? See if she'll give you some face so we can get Lu Feng out of here. He was failing, and he wanted to see the old man fail too. It was the only way he'd feel better. Are you trying to tell me how to do my job? Old Man Chen asked, his voice cold as ice. No, just a suggestion, Lu Dehai stammered. One look from the old veteran was enough to make him back down. Chun Mingyao stepped forward then, her eyes worried. Grandfather, I want to see Lu Feng. If the chief won't let him go, surely we can at least visit him? The chief nodded quickly. Just a visit? That's fine. As long as you don't ask me to open the cell door. Inside the interrogation room, I was sitting back, looking like I didn't have a care in the world. Ouyang Jing hadn't even bothered questioning me. She was smart enough to know that this wasn't about the law anymore. It was about whether the big players could settle their grudge with Lu Qingqing. The door opened, and I saw them walk in. Oh, Grandpa? And my cheap wife? I grinned. Shut up, Chun Mingyao snapped, though her face flushed. You're locked in a police station, and you're still talking nonsense? Old Man Chen sighed, looking at me through the bars. Lu Feng, how did you offend Lu Qingqing? This is a mess. Even I can't get them to drop the charges. I leaned back and yawned. Don't worry about it. That girl was looking for trouble. She couldn't beat me in a fight, so she's using this petty way to get back at me. They can't keep me here. If I wanted to leave, I'd be gone already. Besides, the food is free and the bed isn't bad. Ouyang Jing, standing by the wall, felt her heart skip a beat. Lu Qingqing was famous in Yanjing as a prodigy who had reached the internal realm at a young age. If this guy had beaten her, he had to be an elite martial artist. Keep dreaming, Chun Mingyao muttered, looking at the floor. You're stuck here. I just came to tell you. If you actually get sentenced, I'll wait for you to come out. She turned her head away, her face turning a deep shade of red. Don't worry too much, Old Man Chen added. I'll head to Yanjing myself and see if I can pull some strings. Just hang in there for a few days. I shook my head. No need to bow your head to her. I'm just here to rest. You think these silver bracelets can actually hold me? They're made of cardboard. I grabbed the metal handcuffs and gave them a light tug. With a sharp snap, the metal shattered. The room went dead silent. Ouyang Jing stared at the broken pieces on the floor. It wasn't that the handcuffs were cheap. It was that I had used raw, impossible strength to tear them apart. Lu Feng, if you run, it's a prison break, Ouyang Jing warned, her voice trembling. The consequences will be severe. She knew the truth now. If I wanted to go, those walls were nothing but paper. Old Man Chen's eyes lit up. He turned to Chief Yi with a sharp grin. Chief, I remember a specific regulation in our country. If a martial artist commits a crime, they aren't under the jurisdiction of the local police, right? Chief, he froze. He knew exactly what the old man meant. Martial artists were handled by a special department, the Dragon Squad. Local cops didn't have the authority or the firepower to deal with them. Are you saying Lu Feng is a martial artist? The chief asked. Could a normal person snap those cuffs? Old man Shin countered. I'm telling you this for your own good. If something happens while you're holding him, you won't be able to handle the fallout. Cold sweat poured down Chief Ye's back. Holding a high-level martial artist illegally was a death sentence for his career. Release him, the chief barked. Ouyang Jing, let him go right now. But chief, what about Lu Qingqing? She's Dragon Squad. Doesn't she have the authority? She's using us, the chief shouted. She knows the rules, and she's putting our lives at risk by making us hold him. Tell her we can't handle it. If she wants him locked up, tell her to send her own people. Chen Mingyao looked at Ouyang Jing, then looked at herself, feeling a sudden pang of insecurity. She lowered her head and whispered, Fine, let's go. Wait, I said, staying in my chair. You can't just grab me when you want and kick me out when you're done. What do you think I am? Don't push your luck. Ouyang Jing snapped. Are you leaving or not? I'll leave, I said, rubbing my stomach. But I'm hungry. Unless you guys buy me dinner, I'm staying right here. The service has been great so far. Chief, you didn't hesitate. Ouyang Jing, you brought him in. I think it's only fair you apologize and buy him a meal. It was a misunderstanding, after all. Old Man Shin smiled, seeing that I was safe. Lu Feng, we'll head out first. Come to the Chun house tomorrow. I have something important to discuss with you. You got it, old man, I waved. Safe travels. As soon as we stepped out of the station, Chun Mingyao started complaining. Even though the door was closed and her voice was a whisper, my ears were sharp. I heard every single word. Grandpa, how could you let him go to dinner with another woman? She hissed. Old Man Shin just gave her a calm, seasoned look. Mingyao, a man shouldn't be kept on too tight a leash. Especially a man as talented as Lu Feng. If you push too hard, you'll lose him. You should understand that by now. I smirked to myself. The old man was all right in my book. Let's go, Ouyang Jing said, her voice dripping with irritation. I'll buy you dinner. I hope you choke on it. I wasn't about to turn down a meal with a beautiful officer. I stood up and followed her out. Wait here, she said, turning away. I need to change out of my uniform. I didn't notice the sly, mischievous smile she flashed as she walked off. A few minutes later, she returned in civilian clothes and led me to a high-end shopping mall. I looked at the glittering storefronts, confused. I thought we were eating, I said. Why are we here? Ouyang Jing looked at my patched-up hemp clothes and winced. It was like looking at a relic from a century ago. You're going to eat with me looking like that? They won't even let you through the door. I'm getting you a new outfit. What's wrong with my clothes? I asked, looking down. They're comfortable. Besides, where on earth could I possibly be barred from entering just because of what I'm wearing? Stop talking, she snapped. If you want to eat, you change. End of story. Fine, I sighed. But I'm telling you now, I don't have any money. I'll pay, you cheapskate, she muttered. The moment we stepped into the mall, Ouyang Jing became the center of attention. She had a killer figure and a face that turned heads everywhere she went. But today, the stares were even more intense because I was standing next to her. The contrast was painful. I could hear the whispers from the crowd. Look at that cabbage being rooted by a pig, one guy muttered. What does he have that I don't? Did he just crawl out of the mountains? Another whispered. Who wears hemp pants these days? Ouyang Jing looked like she wanted to find a hole and crawl into it. I didn't care. People can say whatever they want. It doesn't change who I am. But things got tense when we reached the entrance of a high-end boutique called Armani. A clerk stepped forward and literally blocked my path, wrinkling his nose in disgust. We don't have any food here, he said, his voice full of contempt. Go beg somewhere else. To him, my presence was a stain on their brand image. He figured I couldn't afford a single sock in the store, so he didn't mind being rude. Ouyang Jing stayed silent, watching to see how I'd handle it. I frowned. I'd worn these clothes on a plane, and nobody said a word. Now this guy was calling me a beggar. Is this your shop? I asked coldly. You're open for business. Why can't I come in? Do you even know the prices here? The clerk sneered. If you get dirt on these clothes, you couldn't pay for them in a lifetime. Get lost, you smelly beggar. I'd had enough. Since when did a clerk get so much power? You act like you own the place. Give me your manager. A man in a sharp suit stepped out from the back. What's all the noise? I'm the manager here. Manager, the clerk cried. This beggar is trying to force his way in. He stinks up the whole floor. I looked at the manager. You're in charge? Fine. Give this guy 10 hard slaps across the face, and I'll buy everything in your store. The manager laughed in my face. Kid, do you know how much the inventory in this store is worth? Millions. Even if you could afford it, I wouldn't hit my staff. We care about our employees here. I didn't say another word. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the black card worth $1 billion. Swipe it. The manager froze. The clerk started laughing again. A bank card? You're really putting on a show, aren't you? The world is full of clowns. Kid, don't embarrass yourself, the manager said, though his eyes lingered on the card. If it declines, it's going to be very awkward for you. Just swipe the damn thing, I said. The manager hesitated, then took the card and handed it to another staff member. Go check the total inventory. It's about 3.18 million. Give him a discount, call it an even 3 million. A crowd began to gather. People pulled out their phones, ready to film the moment the beggar got kicked out for having a dead card. Even Ouyang Jing was getting nervous. She didn't know if I actually had money or if I was just losing my mind. Lu Feng, let's just go, she whispered. This is embarrassing. Stay right there and wait, I said. My voice was cold. I was genuinely angry now. The staff member came running back, looking pale and breathless. Well, the manager asked, a smug grin on his face. Is it empty? No. Manager, the payment went through. 3 million. It cleared instantly. The news hit the crowd like a bomb. Everyone went silent. This guy in rags just dropped 3 million like it was pocket change. Ouyang Jing stared at me, stunned. She knew martial artists weren't usually poor, but she hadn't expected this. I'd told her I was broke, and here I was buying a whole store. The manager's face transformed instantly. He began to fawn over me. Sir, please come inside. Let me brew you our finest Longjing tea. No need, I said, my voice flat. The money is paid. Now it's time for you to hold up your end of the deal. If I'm not satisfied with the slaps, I'll take a full refund. The manager's smile vanished. A $3 million sale meant a massive commission for him, at least 150,000. He wasn't about to let that money slip away. He turned to the clerk, his eyes cold. Shally, get over here. Manager, please. The clerk stammered. Smack. The manager delivered a brutal slap that echoed through the mall. Then another. And another. He hit him 3 times in a row until the clerk's face was swollen like a pig's head and blood leaked from his lip. The clerk collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Manager, please. Stop. I'll die if you keep going. 6 more, I said coldly. Ouyang Jing looked at the bloody scene and stepped forward, unable to watch anymore. She wanted to stop it, but I didn't move an inch. Ouyang Jing rushed forward to stop the violence, but I grabbed her arm and pulled her back. Forget it, she pleaded, her voice urgent. If this keeps going, he's going to kill her. I didn't let go. Some people don't know who to respect until they're given a real lesson. If you step in, I'll have to finish the job myself. Ouyang Jing froze. She knew exactly what I meant. With my strength, a single strike from me wouldn't just leave a bruise, it would end a life. She stayed put. Asterisk smack. 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 Asterisk. The manager delivered 6 more brutal blows to the clerk's face. Shally collapsed onto the floor, spitting out blood and nearly a dozen teeth. She was a mess. Oomph. That's what you get for disrespecting our honored guest, the manager barked. Starting tomorrow, don't bother coming back. You're fired. The clerk scrambled to her knees, sobbing. Manager, please. You can't do this. I have a child to raise. I can't lose this job. She didn't have much of an education. A job like this paid better than anything else she could find, and after a scene like this, no other high-end store would touch her. Don't beg me, the manager sneered. Beg this gentleman. Ouyang Jing looked at the woman and sighed. Lin Yuan, forget it. She's been punished enough. Let her keep the job. She looks pretty miserable. Shally saw a glimmer of hope. She turned toward me, kneeling and slapping her own swollen cheeks. Sir, please, have mercy. I'm divorced, and I'm the only one providing for my kid. I really can't lose this work. I hadn't actually asked for her to be fired. The manager had done that on his own to impress me. To be honest, I didn't care if she worked there or not, but I did need someone to do a job for me. Fine, I said. I'll give you one chance. Take every single piece of clothing in this store and rip them to shreds. Ouyang Jing's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Lin Yuan, are you crazy? That's $3 million worth of clothes. It was pure waste. The manager tried to intervene too. Sir, it's such a shame to destroy them. If you're worried about carrying them all, we can have them delivered to your home. You have a point, I said. Xiaoli had already started running toward the racks, but I called her back. Ouyang Jing and the manager let out a sigh of relief, thinking I'd changed my mind. They were wrong. I already spent the $3 million, and I'm here to buy clothes anyway. No point in looking elsewhere. Keep one outfit for me to wear. Rip everything else. Ouyang Jing picked out a suit for me. When I walked out of the changing room, the atmosphere changed. I'm 6 feet tall with a lean, powerful build from years of cultivation. My skin was clear, and my features were sharp. Compared to the pretty boy idols on TV, I looked like a king. I didn't realize it before, Ouyang Jing said, her voice full of genuine praise. But you're actually quite handsome. I shrugged, giving her a cocky grin. This is nothing. I was even better looking as a kid. While Xiaoli stayed behind to tear the inventory apart, a task she performed with desperate energy, Ouyang Jing led me to the Zhonghai Grand Hotel. It was one of the most luxurious spots in the city. I looked at the gold-leafed pillars and marble floors. What kind of family do you come from? We're eating here? Just so you know, I'm broke. Ouyang Jing rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. You just dropped $3 million without blinking and you're telling me you're broke? Don't worry. It's not your money. I'm treating you. Oh, a free meal? In that case, I'm going to eat until this place goes bankrupt. Keep dreaming, she laughed. The person paying has more money than he knows what to do with. Eat as much as you want. Suddenly, she reached out and hooked her arm firmly through mine. She pulled me close, pressing her shoulder against mine until we were walking chest to chest. Hey, what are you doing? I barked. Men and women shouldn't be this close. Keep your voice down, she hissed. I'm the one letting you touch me, and you're acting like you're the one losing out. I'm buying you dinner, so you're going to do me a small favor. The light bulb finally went off. I get it. You're using me as a shield, aren't you? I realized why she'd been so insistent on the makeover and the fancy dinner. As a police officer, her monthly salary wouldn't cover a single appetizer here. Smart guy, she whispered. Just eat your food and play along. I'll make it worth your while. I turned to bolt, but she gripped my arm like a vice. She leaned in even closer, her perfume filling my senses. Where do you think you're going? Don't tell me you're a coward. What? You're scared to pretend to be my boyfriend for an hour. I hate being called a coward. Being a human shield is a dangerous job, but I wasn't about to back down. Fine, let's go. Just don't cry when this gets messy. I straightened my collar and walked into the hotel like I owned the place. This time, nobody tried to stop me. The staff just bowed and smiled. We reached a private VIP suite. Inside, a man sat at a table set for a romantic candlelight dinner. He kept checking his watch, looking agitated. Just as he reached for his phone, we walked in. Young Master Lin, sorry to keep you waiting, Ouyang Jing said. The man, Lin Kuan, looked up and froze. His eyes locked onto our linked arms and joined hands. His face went from impatient to a sickly shade of green in 3 seconds. Ouyang Jing beamed, clearly enjoying his misery. Let me introduce you, she said brightly. This is Lin Kuan, and this is my boyfriend, Lin Yuan. Lin Kuan slammed his hand on the table. Kid, I don't care who you are. Let go of her hand. Now. I didn't flinch. She's my girlfriend. I'll hold her hand whenever I want. Actually, I can do more than just hold it. I lifted Ouyang Jing's hand and planted a firm kiss on her knuckles. She stiffened, completely caught off guard. She hadn't expected me to be this bold. Lin Kuan looked like he was about to have a stroke. You dare kiss her in front of me? You're looking for death. What's a hand? I provoked, grinning at him. I'll kiss her on the mouth too. Before Ouyang Jing could react, I cupped her face and pulled her into a deep kiss. She gasped, her whole body trembling as if an electric current was passing through her. She tried to push me away, but I caught her eyes with a sharp look. She remembered the plan. If she pushed me now, the charade was over. Her hands, which had been set to shove my chest, went limp. I wrapped my arm around her waist, pulling her flush against me, and kept going. She had no choice but to melt into it, acting like she was enjoying every second. Bang! Lin Kuan kicked his chair back, his face purple with rage. We finally broke apart. Enough, he screamed. Ouyang Jing, you know why I called you here. Was it to watch this disgusting display? Ouyang Jing smoothed her hair, looking perfectly relaxed. I know, young Master Lin. You invited me for dinner. Well, I'm here. Sorry about that. We just can't help ourselves. Let's eat, I said, ignoring the tension. Lin Kuan's eyes turned ice cold as he glared at me. Kid, you've got guts. You actually dare to snatch my woman. Watch your mouth, Lin Kuan. Ouyang Jing snapped. Since when did I become your woman? Jinger, our parents already agreed to this, Lin Kuan said, his voice rising. I prepared a candlelight dinner for us, and you show up with this guy? Aren't you afraid I'll have him crippled? Don't call me Jinger, she countered. Our parents agreeing doesn't mean I agree. I have a boyfriend now. I can't exactly just abandon him, can I? Lin Kuan was shaking with rage. If this were any other woman, he would have had us beaten half to death already. But Ouyang Jing was different. She was from the Ouyang family in the capital. Even if her status there wasn't the highest, they were a massive power. If he married her, the Lin family would rise far beyond the limits of Zhonghai City. He forced himself to calm down. He'd done his homework. Ouyang Jing didn't have a boyfriend. This guy had to be a shield she'd hired at the last minute. He looked at me with a smug grin. Kid, how much is she paying you? I'll give you double. Just get lost. How's that sound? Ouyang Jing blinked, looking confused. We'd put on a great show. How did he see through it? I didn't miss a beat. I came here to eat. I'm hungry. Are we getting food, or what? Lin Kuan scowled. I don't want to see blood today. I'll open a table for you in the room next door. Go eat by yourself and leave Jinger and me alone. No way, Ouyang Jing cut in. Wherever he eats, I eat. If he goes next door, I'm going too. She clearly didn't want to be left alone with this creep. Lin Kuan hesitated, then finally shrugged. Fine, we'll all eat together. He clapped his hands, and the servers started bringing out the dishes. The moment the food hit the table, I went to work. When it comes to eating, you're either fast or you're hungry. These high-end hotel portions are tiny. By the time Lin Kuan picked up his chopsticks to grab a bite, the plate was already empty. Little brother, don't rush, Lin Kuan said, trying to sound polite. There's plenty more coming. Food without wine is missing something, I said, wiping my mouth. Can I order a couple of bottles? Of course. Order whatever you want. Lin Kuan smiled. This was exactly what he wanted, though he hadn't planned on ordering the drinks quite yet. I scanned the menu and found the most expensive thing they had, 1982 La Fight. 180,000 yuan a bottle. Server, bring me 10 bottles of this 82 La Fight to start. The server froze. He'd never seen anyone order wine like they were buying bottled water. He looked at Lin Kuan for confirmation. Lin Kuan's eyelid twitched. This kid was treating him like a bottomless ATM. But with Ouyang Jing watching, he couldn't lose face. What was a few bottles of wine if it got him what he wanted? Bring them, he sighed. Do as he says. As soon as the wine arrived, I didn't wait for a corkscrew. I just pressed my thumb down and popped the top. Brother Liu, that's interesting technique, Lin Kuan said, his voice dripping with condescension. But red wine isn't meant to be handled so crudely. You have to. Before he could finish, I tipped the bottle back and chugged the entire thing in one go. Gulp, gulp, gulp. You said this stuff was expensive? I complained, setting the empty bottle down. It tastes a bit weak. Not enough kick. Everyone stared at me, stunned. This was red wine, not cheap beer. Lin Kuan, however, looked secretly pleased. He thought I was a mindless brute who was about to drink himself under the table. He didn't even need to pressure me to drink anymore. While Ouyang Jing watched me in shock, Lin Kuan stood up and poured wine into a decanter. He turned his back to us, using his body as a shield. I saw it clearly, though. With a flick of his fingers, a small pill dropped into the wine and dissolved instantly. He turned back and poured a glass for Ouyang Jing. Come on, let's all have a toast. I don't drink, she said firmly. I might get a call for a mission at any time. Everyone else is drinking. It's rude not to join in, Lin Kuan pushed. Just one glass? It's only red wine. It won't hurt. Fine, she relented. Just one. After this, I'm done. I didn't hesitate. I picked up my glass and downed the spiked wine in a single swallow. A few minutes later, Ouyang Jing's eyes started to glaze over. She tried to stand up to go to the bathroom, but her legs gave out and she slumped over, unconscious. I stopped eating and shook her shoulder. Ouyang Jing, hey, wake up. Then, I let my own head wobble. I groaned, clutching my forehead, and slumped onto the table right next to her. Lin Kuan burst out laughing. Ha! Didn't see that coming, did you? You didn't think I'd have medicine? He walked over to Ouyang Jing, his eyes predatory. Stop pretending to be so pure. I've chased you for so long, and you kept saying no. This time, you aren't going anywhere. He leaned down and forced another pill into her mouth. Then he looked at me. And you, kid, you just had to play the hero, didn't you? Well, now you're going to be shark bait. I stayed still, but my mind was racing. This guy was actually going to throw me into the ocean? He was crazier than I thought. Someone get in here. Lin Kuan yelled. A henchman walked in. Take this kid out and dump him in the sea. Make it quiet. I couldn't play dead anymore. If I stayed asleep, I'd end up at the bottom of the harbor. I sat bolt upright and scratched my ear. So, who's going to be shark bait again? Lin Kuan and his man jumped back, faces pale. You, how are you awake? I reached over and tapped a few pressure points on Ouyang Jing's neck. She groaned and slowly opened her eyes, looking confused. What happened? Why did I black out? If you hadn't woken up, I'd be halfway to the bottom of the ocean by now, I told her. Our friend here drugged us. Ouyang Jing's confusion turned to pure rage as she glared at Lin Kuan. Lin Kuan, I can't believe you'd do this. Do you realize this is a serious crime? Lin Kuan realized the act was over. He dropped the polite mask entirely. Since you know, there's no point in hiding it. Officer Ouyang, do you really think you're in a position to arrest me? Don't worry. Tonight, we're going to have a little fun with that uniform of yours. He clapped his hands. 5 or 6 more men rushed into the room, surrounding us. What are you doing? Ouyang Jing shouted. This is a felony. Once you're mine, you won't have the heart to send me to jail, Lin Kuan sneered. He turned to me. If you had stayed unconscious, you might have lived. Now, you've lost your only chance. Is that so? I said, smiling at him. You think these few guys can actually keep me here? I know you can fight, but even the best can't handle a crowd, Lin Kuan said confidently. My men are all ex-special forces. Tie them up. Take the girl to my room, and take the guy to the coast. His men lunged at me. Ouyang Jing didn't wait either. She moved to strike, but I was already faster. I kicked the first man square in the chest, sending him flying backward. The others didn't even get close. Before they could react, I flicked my wrist. A series of silver needles flashed through the air, sinking into their pressure points. They froze instantly. They stood there like statues, unable to move a muscle. Go on. What are you waiting for? Lin Kuan roared. He didn't understand why his men had suddenly stopped. The men wanted to move. They really did. But aside from their eyes rolling around in panic, their bodies refused to obey. Lin Kuan finally realized something was wrong. His face twisted with fear. What kind of sorcery is this? He stammered. Don't worry, I said calmly. They'll be able to move again in about 2 hours. And you're no exception. With a quick motion, I tapped Lin Kuan's pressure points as well. Silence fell over the room. Everyone was paralyzed and mute, except for me and Ouyang Jing. I turned to her. You should step outside for a minute, I told her. What are you going to do? She asked, looking worried. Lin Yuan, don't do anything reckless. If someone dies, I can't just look the other way. Just go. Stop asking so many questions. She hesitated but eventually nodded. Fine. Just, please don't kill them. Once she was gone, I let my inner troublemaker out. I stripped every single one of them naked. I posed them in the most ridiculous, suggestive positions I could think of. Then, I gathered their clothes, shoes, and phones and tossed the whole pile out the window. I walked out of the suite and shut the door behind me. What did you do in there? Ouyang Jing asked the second I appeared. You'll find out tomorrow, I replied with a grin. Before leaving, I had used Lin Kuan's own phone to send a mass tip to every major media outlet in Zhonghai. I told them there was an explosive scandal waiting for them in this room in exactly 2 hours. I knew those reporters. They wouldn't miss a scoop like this for anything. We headed to the car. As I drove, Ouyang Jing started shifting in the passenger seat. Lin Yuan, why is it so hot in here? She muttered. Turn the AC down. The weather was actually quite cool. It didn't make sense for her to be sweating. I pulled the car over and grabbed her wrist to check her pulse. My expression darkened. Her eyes were glazed and unfocused. She started tugging at her own collar, her breath coming in short gasps. Suddenly, she lunged at me. She wrapped her arms around my neck and started kissing me wildly. I tried to push her back, thinking a needle might snap her out of it, but it was useless. Whatever drug Lin Kuan had used was terrifyingly potent. Lin Yuan, help me, she whimpered against my lips. Please, I need you. Officer Ouyang, if you keep this up, I'm going to lose my self-control, I groaned. She wasn't listening. Her movements became more desperate. My own blood started to boil under her touch. Damn that Lin Kuan. He really backed me into a corner this time. My purity was about to be a thing of the past. 2 hours later, the storm finally subsided. We sat in the quiet car, catching our breath. To my absolute shock, I felt a surge of energy within me. My internal cultivation technique, the wind and cloud formula, had triggered on its own. I had broken through from the early stage of foundation building to the late stage. It was that easy. Maybe the old man was right. The city really was where my true opportunities lived. Lin Yuan, Ouyang Jing said, her voice small. About today, let's just pretend it never happened. Okay. No way, I teased. You forced yourself on me. You have to take responsibility. But you have Chun Ming Yao, she snapped, her face flushing. If I take responsibility, what about her? You're just a scumbag trying to have it both ways. Get out of the car. Hey, why are you bringing up old wounds? We were just... Get out, she screamed. I sighed and stepped onto the pavement. Fine, I'm out. Can we at least be friends? No need to make it complicated. The car door slammed shut. Ouyang Jing floored the gas and sped away, leaving me in a cloud of exhaust. I stood there stunned. Talk about cold. She used me and then dumped me on the side of the road. While I was walking, a swarm of reporters descended on the Zhonghai Hotel. When they burst into the suite, they were greeted by a scene so scandalous their jaws hit the floor. Cameras flashed like lightning. This is huge, one reporter whispered. The boss has been riding my back for weeks. This will shut him up. But that's Lin Kuan, the heir to the Lin Group. Another whispered, looking pale. Are we really allowed to publish this? Are you a coward? Look at this. If we don't post it, someone else will. The Lin family doesn't pay our salaries. Lin Kuan wanted to scream. He wanted to tell them he'd pay them anything to stay quiet. But he couldn't speak. He could only watch in horror as they documented his ultimate humiliation. Within an hour, the bodyguard scandal was the #1 trending topic on the internet. By the time Lin Kuan and his men were finally freed by hotel staff and dressed, the damage was done. Lin Yuan, Lin Kuan roared, his voice trembling with pure hatred. I will find you. I will kill you. I didn't know about any of that yet. My old Nokia phone didn't even have an internet browser. Instead, I headed over to find Chu Feng. I had sold his computer a few days ago, and I figured he probably thought I was a scammer by now. As I climbed the stairs to his place, I saw red paint splashed everywhere. Pay your debts. Deadbeat. Justice for creditors. The walls were covered in insults. It looked like the kid was having a rough time. I knocked on the door. What do you want now? A voice yelled from inside. Chu Feng sounded like he was in pain. You already beat me up today. Just let me live. I blinked, confused. I hadn't touched him. I knocked again. The door creaked open. Chu Feng stood there, covered in bruises and smelling of medicinal oil. He looked ready to scream, but then he paused, squinting at me. You? Lin Yuan, he asked. You're dressed so nice, I didn't recognize you. What are you doing here? You don't look happy to see me, I said. Happy? I've been getting beaten up every single day since you showed up. It's all because of you. I don't have anything left of value. Chu Feng spat, his voice cracking. The last computer I owned. You already took it. Actually, I'm here to pay you back for that computer, I said calmly. I pulled out a bank card and held it between 2 fingers. There are 10 billion yuan in here. Well, technically, I just spent 3 million, so it's 9,970,000,000. Is that enough for your laptop? Chu Feng stared at the card. He looked like he wanted to laugh, but his bruised face made it look more like a grimace. You're saying there's nearly 1 billion yuan on that card? Yeah, right. I'm serious, I told him. Take 500 million to pay off your debts. Use the rest to start over. Build something big. Chu Feng backed away, looking at me like I'd lost my mind. Lin Yuan, did you hit your head? A few days ago, you couldn't even scrape together 200 yuan. Now you're a billionaire? You can't even rob a bank that fast. I didn't feel like arguing. If he didn't believe me, I'd make him believe me. I pulled out my phone and dialed the bank's automated balance inquiry line. I put it on speaker. When the mechanical voice recited the balance, 997 million, Chu Feng froze. The color drained from his face. He looked at me, then at the phone, then back at me. That's real, he whispered. You heard it yourself, I said. Now here's the deal. I'll give you 20% of the shares. I want you to build me a business empire. Chu Feng's expression shifted from shock to suspicion. Why are you helping me like this? I'm not just helping you. I'm helping myself, I explained. My master took me to the mountains when I was a baby. I don't even know who my parents are. All I have is my name. I want this company to be called the Lin Yuan Group. Chu Feng frowned, thinking it over. I get it. You want the name to be so famous, so huge, that it reaches every corner of the country. You're hoping your family will see it and find you. Exactly, I said. So, do you have the guts to take the money? If not, I'll find someone else. Chu Feng went quiet for a long time. Then his eyes sparked. I'll do it. Why wouldn't I? I won't just make the Lin Yuan Group famous in China. I'll make it a global empire. I saw the light return to his eyes. The broken man I had met minutes ago was gone. Good. I knew I picked the right person. I don't know anything about business, so I won't interfere with the management. If there's a problem you can't solve, tell me, and I'll handle it. Also, I'll be the chairman in name, but you hold the power. Chu Feng nodded. He understood. If the chairman's name was Lin Yuan, it wasn't a coincidence. It was a beacon. I looked at the bruises on his face. By the way, what happened here? Who's been beating you up? Chu Feng sighed. It started after you left. The Qin family and the Lu family came looking for you. I'd already offended Lu Dehai because of you. Then there's the Ling family. I owe them 500 million. He leaned against the doorframe, looking exhausted. The Lings already stole my company. They made their money back 10 times over. They don't actually care about the debt. But after Lu Dehai got involved, they started sending people every day just to humiliate me. A beating every single day, like clockwork. The Ling family? I asked. Is there a guy named Lin Kuan? Yeah, Chu Feng said. Lin Kuan is the son of Lin Biao, the head of the Ling group. Do you know him? I chuckled. It was a small world. You could say that. I actually might have done you a favor today. Check the news on your phone. Chu Feng pulled out his phone, confused. Within seconds, his eyes went wide. He was looking at the bodyguard scandal trending at the top of the charts. Even with the pixelation, the humiliation was clear. Holy crap, Chu Feng muttered. I'd know that face anywhere. That's definitely Lin Kuan. Man, he's into some weird stuff. Then he looked at me, realization hitting him. Wait, you did this. We had dinner, I said casually. He wanted to feed me to the sharks. I decided to send him to the top of the search results instead. Chu Feng didn't laugh. He looked terrified. Lin Yuan, you don't understand. The Ling family started in the underworld. They are brutal. You shamed him publicly. They won't stop until you're dead. You need to pack your things and leave the country. Hide. I don't hide, I said. If he's in a hurry to die, he can come find me. Listen to me. Chu Feng grabbed my arm. I've dealt with them. I know how they work. They destroyed my company. They drove me to the edge of that roof. My own ex-wife even left me for Lin Kuan's father, Lin Biao. We can't beat them. I looked him dead in the eye. Then stand up where you fell. If you can't get past a small-time family like the Lings, how are you going to build a global empire? But we're too weak right now, he argued. We should wait. A wise man takes his revenge even if it takes 10 years. We don't need to fight them head-on yet. 10 years is too long, I said. In my eyes, the Ling family is just an ant. If you're too scared to step on an ant, go back to the countryside and plant crops. You handle the business. I handle the obstacles. I patted his shoulder. This is your first test. Let's see if you're worthy of the Lin Yuan group.